Macy, what's today? That was the worst intro ever.
Macy.
Macy. What's today? It's spooky for sure.
It is spooky. I'm honestly a fan of it. I'm here for it. You know what? I'll fucking answer your question. Your question, man. It's the 10th. It's the 10th. Double digits. 10 episodes. Over 100 episodes. Spookysode. www.spookysodes episode 105. Spookysode 10. Today, double digits coming at you right now.
Oh my god. It's so much. It is our 10th Spookysode. And have we got a treat for you? Wait, let me do it in my spooky voice. Have we got a treat for you?
Gross. I like it. We did our first ever interview. Really good time of an interview. We had a great time, and we didn't fuck it up. Was the bar that I just really wanted to meet, and we did that. It was wonderful. We had an interview with the haunted historian. It was just a really fucking great conversation.
Yeah, it was, and we had both been looking forward to it so much. We have been not stalking, that's a bit much, but we have been perusing the Instagram page that is at haunted.historian, where you can see these beautiful photos of abandoned locations, haunted locations, and read a little bit about their history. Serious resume on this guy that we got to talk to, Conner. Like you said, we didn't screw the interview up, not on purpose. However, it was our first time to do like a 3-way call on this distance recording thing that we use. Because of that, for some reason, Macy and I could hear a loop of our own voices in the background.
God. So it was disorienting.
Like with a speech jammer. Oh my god. I'm so glad that he couldn't hear it. He didn't have that problem, so, that's all fine. But we just kept explaining ourselves. I had to pop my earphones out to ask questions because I'm already mushy-mouthed, and that just made it 10 times worse.
Yeah, I had to slow my question. I had like a Christopher Walken timing because I had to wait for my echo. So I would be like, question part, please explain how you understand this to occur. Awful. It was so hard.
I know you said Christopher Walken, but when you do that voice, all I can hear is Zach Bagans.
That's fine.
What was the one you said one time? Could it be that this stone could heal your jaw? What did you... I can't do it like you can.
I don't remember. I do remember that. I nothing makes me happier than just busting out a good Bagans voice. It just cleanses the throat chakra, I feel like.
We gotta go back to the throat chakra episode and edit that in. Oh. I want to tell you a little bit about Conner from Haunted Historian before we play the audio of the interview and you can hear all about it, which not only was it an interview, we got some serious insight into like the spookiest story time that I've heard in a while.
I've not stopped thinking about that, and I have revisited that story about that family has really crept into my mind a lot lately.
I think I blocked it out because I'm thinking about the hospital, the abandoned
fuck that
hospital.
Fuck that.
But yeah, no, you're right. So stay tuned for that. From spending the night inside some of the nation's most haunted destinations, aiding in a multitude of exorcisms, writing as a columnist for a variety of paranormal magazines, and sharing it all with a global audience of nearly 56,000 people, Conner has seen, heard, and experienced just about everything, and then some. Don't laugh at... Are you laughing at me because it took me 3 tries to say 56,000 right?
I was trying to be quiet. I got a question for you.
Oh, yes.
And let me know how you feel about it. We don't do this on the Spookysodes typically, but we had some Patreons say that they wouldn't mind it if we brought the beak back. I have a book for you. if you want to hear any of it.
Guess who's back? Back again. Mrs. Cornelius Beekman is back.
We're bringing Beekman back. What?
I don't know how to act. Tell me.
I have some choice excerpts for you, and these are exactly from where I left off. So this is just still going in order for the most, unless I forgot where I've read, but it's pretty much the same. This is motor manners.
Motor manners.
This is if you're a passenger. Your manners are... So this is what you do if you're a passenger in the car. You need to be a good passenger, okay? You need to be a mannerly passenger. Of course, you guessed what we would suggest first. Don't be a backseat driver. Under no circumstances show signs of fear or panic. Under no... Not even if it was warranted.
No circumstances. Don't show signs of fear. What kind of, dystopian universe is this? All right.
Do your share to keep the car neat. Be careful about your cigarette ashes, about putting your cigarette entirely out, and put your cigarette ends where they belong. In the container. Don't spill on the seats or on the floor bits of anything that you might be eating.
Oh, you just put it on somebody's hamburger.
It's just really funny to me, that image. Just being a passenger and the driver's eating a burger and you just right out in there while they're taking a bite.
How about you drop me off here?
Ooh. Sit back in your seat, not on the edge. Do not open doors while the car is in motion. and when alighting from the car, watch for oncoming traffic or other things which may tear the door from its moorings or may injure you, because remember that in most cases, the owner of the vehicle is responsible for your safety while you are a passenger, so do not take advantage of it.
Okay, I have questions. Hold on. Is it not obvious that you are not supposed to open the doors as you barrel down the highway, first of all? Second of all, how is that taking advantage?
Yeah. The last snippet of this little section here is really just... be prompt when you are asked to go motoring.
I love it. Great advice.
Motoring! What's your price for flight? I love it. All right, listen. Other notes on motor manners, okay? Don't honk your horn when you are calling for a guest. The doorbell makes a more mannerly sound.
Elaine, get out here!
A man assists a woman to enter and to leave a car. Your polite beau, whether he is the driver of the car or a passenger, will be grateful to you if you give him time to get out of the car to help you get out or help you get in, just as he will be grateful to you for you to wait for him to open any door through which you wish to enter. Dress smartly, of course, but suitably as well when you take a motor trip.
What is proper attire for... Wait, okay. Hold on, how do you not wait for... Okay. Beautifully cloudy, as always, Mrs. Cornelius.
Properly vague. Okay. So, this is good. Okay, this last bit is manners on smoking. And this is the time when everybody smoked, so I'm curious about this. So, if you smoke, these are the questions that apply to your manners in smoking. As in everything else, manners concerning smoking are based on one's self-respect and on one's consideration for others. And if you do smoke, ellipses. Respect the viewpoint or the prejudices of people about smoking in your home and in other people's homes, in public spaces, and in your community. When a man meets someone he knows on the street, he quickly removes his cigarette or cigar from his mouth before he takes off his hat. There are rules.
First of all, I love the idea that he's not even holding it, like smoking it between his fingers. He's just letting it limply lay out of his mouth.
Just
and then
dangle in his mouth.
Sputters it onto the ground before he takes his... Ugh.
If he stops to talk with a woman, he throws away his cigarette or cigar. A man walking with a woman on a city street should not smoke.
I've heard like this is an older rule that people would abide by, that women are not supposed to walk and smoke at the same time. It's, I don't know, it's trashy or something. I don't know. I've heard that time and time again. So that's strange. I guess walking and smoking is a big old no-no.
Yeah, I guess, it's because the woman can't smoke. You don't want to encourage her small brain to want a cigarette and walk at the same time. She might get hit by a car.
Might try to ash the cigarette with her feet because she gets too confused.
Sorry. Do not smoke when you sense that it will be or may be offensive to others. You just gotta know that. You gotta sense it with your intuition.
Open your third eye and know for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. You can always find out the other person's reactions about smoking by considerately asking, "Do you mind if I smoke?"
Sound advice, but I can't not hear that in the same tone as "Pardon my glove."
Exactly. Carry your own cigarettes. Don't make a practice of always being a gimme girl or man.
I love that so much.
The girl or woman of good taste does not smoke on a city street.
Harlots would do that.
Yep. All right, now I gotta ask you something. I have to have you help me understand this because I don't understand what I'm reading. I'm really honestly a bit troubled by it.
It's come to that time. Every single time we do this, there's one part that makes... Okay, lay it on me.
When you remove a flake of tobacco from your mouth, remove it as unobtrusively as possible between your thumb and finger. Oh, and put it on the side of the ashtray. Okay, see... The first time I read this, I did not read it that way. And I read it as, if you have a tobacco flake in your mouth, you need to grab it between your thumb and forefinger, and you rub it between your fingers so long until it drops out of them into the ashtray.
Ew.
That makes more sense.
Gross.
Okay.
It's like when a kid rolls a booger. That's disgusting.
Yeah. I feel better now having understood that. And then she ends it with, "Don't spit it out." So don't spit your little tobacco flakies anywhere.
I mean, I don't know. Is that more or less gross than plucking it out of your teeth?
I think a quick little, just like out off the side. It's fine. On and it's over, and you didn't put your spitty fingers all over everything, and everybody wins. A man lights a woman's cigarette before he lights his own. There's no point about that question of his taking the sulfur fumes first.
I'm thoroughly confused. Excuse?
Me too. I don't know.
It must be one of those dead Victorian things.
But here's what I do know, Charlie. Ashes belong in an ashtray. They don't belong on a plate or saucer, in a cup, or on the floor. Usually, there's an ashtray at hand, and usually, if there isn't, you can ask for one. Be careful where you lay a lighted cigarette or cigar. Be kind to furniture. And when you have finished smoking, be sure to put out your cigarette or cigar completely. Ugh is the word for the smell of a dying cigarette or cigar.
This is the second time she's gone on about that. She really hates the smell of a dying cigarette.
Oh, what a classic Mrs. Beekman final sentence. Okay, here we go.
Oh, thank God. Yes.
This is if you don't smoke. Okay. When someone offers you a cigarette, say a gracious "no thank you" or "no." Oh, sorry. She wrote this weird, as she does. Okay, so when someone offers you a cigarette, say a gracious "no thank you" or "no thank you, I don't smoke." No need to be self-conscious or self-righteous.
Slap them down. I love how she feels the need to always consistently say something along the lines of, say no thank you, or no thank you, I don't smoke. Like, I can figure out how to fill that blank.
Oh my God, I know. It kills me. It's so confusing to read.
It's so much. And sometimes it's like, please say no thank you, or no thank you, I do not smoke, or no thank you, I used to smoke, but I no longer smoke, or it just goes on and on and on.
She kills me. Oh. So there you go.
I love that. I think the best piece of advice I've ever heard is to, when you're in someone else's car, to not show fear.
And to be just as a good show of etiquette, don't open the doors when the car is moving. If you want to be mannerly.
You might be tempted. It is so common. And don't shove your cigarette in their Starbucks in the middle of the
Oh, God.
Man.
I feel better.
You know what? I feel cleansed and ready to dive into the spookiness. If you're scared, stop now. It doesn't get better from this moment on.
So, having broadened our etiquette horizons with Mrs. Cornelius Beekman, we can now move into our main event of this 10th Spookysode, our very special interview with Conner, a.k.a. the Haunted Historian.
Don't forget to check him out on Instagram at haunted.historian.
Introduce ourselves so we're not complete perfect strangers.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Sure. We're cousins. I'm Macy. That's Charlie. We do the Witch Bitch Amateur Hour. We're two different kinds of witches that do different things. I'm on the green witch path, earth witch, things like that. Charlie, she'll be able to tell you about her more on the spirit side. So I think we have some questions for you, kind of from either end of that spectrum. So I think it'll be fun. But anyway, Charlie, you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So like she said, we have our podcast with Witch Bitch Amateur Hour, and we really lean into that amateur title. So we do kind of approach things through like a semi-skeptic lens.
Yeah.
And they call it hedge witch. So they do a lot of spirit communication. So we're really into
the dead.
The dead. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And every 10 episodes, we do what we call the Spookysode, where we go to locations, we look up the history of the place that we're at. We try to keep it to small, mostly Texas-based.
I think that pretty much covers it. We'd love to hear about you.
Yes.
And a little bit about you and what you do and all that jazz.
Yeah. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona currently. I am a PR manager for a marketing firm out here. I would love to say, the page pays the bills and ghost hunting is keeps me afloat, but just a passion right now. But
yeah.
I made the page, the Haunted Historian, back in college, sort of as an outlet because my friends and I who'd been doing it throughout high school went to separate areas across the country. We no longer were next to each other to be doing it all the time. So I made the page kind of to whenever I was kind of getting in a spooky mood, I'll call it. I could look something up, find a fun picture, put it on there, share it with people, kind of as an outlet in the community to share a lot of people's experiences and their visual evidence that they had captured. And I didn't anticipate for it to grow to the size that it has, and a lot of very cool opportunities have come from that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I guess for the most part, is the biggest thing for me to say is to dispel the idea that is my job.
Yeah.
It's not, and I really can't even take credit for a lot of the creativity behind it. I kind of just oversee the writing and everything. A lot of the pictures and the team contacts, the media contacts are handled by other individuals, and they get all like the photo release requests, and they work with different teams to get their images and whatnot. So, which I'm very thankful for, because don't have time to do all of it, but they're very helpful. And I had no idea about the prospect of coming on the podcast until about a week ago when my media manager is like, "Hey, I have you booked on about 9 podcasts." Okay, cool, fine. I very rarely listen to podcasts. I'm very odd. I sit in the car, or I sit in an empty room, and I enjoy the silence. And I just sort of sit there.
I do that. I feel that. Yeah,
for sure.
But now that I'll be on a number, I gotta start listening to your guys's.
Hey, there you go.
The podcast kind of fad here. It kind of came out of nowhere. At least on me. I'm always 5 years behind on the latest trends. I'm sure it's been going on for a while.
Well, perfect. Then we have some funky questions for you. I'm excited about it. I'll go ahead and start it off. And so the first one I have for you right now is, when did you kind of first start investigating the paranormal end of things? Did it come from a personal experience of your own, maybe like growing up somewhere kind of funky, or like did the historical appreciation lead into the paranormal?
No, when I started out, it was in high school. I grew up in a very small town in Ohio. Was not a lot to do. Cornfields and forests everywhere. If you weren't kayaking and going for hikes, then you were just hanging out in your own house. So we were fans of ghost hunting shows, and finally got to this idea, what if we ventured out to within our own state in Ohio, or to a neighboring state, which we did over to Newcastle, Pennsylvania, and do a ghost hunt. And we did it with no technology, no preconceived notions, kind of just breaking up the monotony of what we usually did. And we loved it. It was a great time. We spent the next 3 years doing it, and, gathering up an arsenal of technology and contacts and experiences, and just, building on the journey of going around to these different locations. But now, definitely, as the page's namesake would certainly suggest, I was a history minor in college, and it's a lot for me. Is finding places to go and covering places half the time is what's happened there, and the families, the background, the history. A place is haunted for X, Y, or Z. It can be unique what they're doing, but it's typically not unique why it's happening. And what's really unique, I've always found, is why it happened. Because every family has their own story, every town has its own history, and when you follow something back to the span of hundreds of years for a lot of these locations, it's a lot more interesting than when you just express that something's going bump in the night. So now it's a lot more centered around the history, the why, and the how, rather than just, what the website is advertising.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool. That actually leads kind of right into my question for you. How did you find the places that you wanted to research? What would a location, what would your perfect location have to make you go like, oh, I gotta get in this place?
At first it was all about notoriety for me. I really, when I was new at it, I of course wanted to go and really get the biggest locations under my belt and have some of that. I've been there, the ones that all the shows go to, that everybody kind of expresses their past having gone there. I can, relate to. I've done the same thing, but it's a lot of different things for me now. A lot of it, and it really depends, I guess, on what day I'm trying to look into this stuff, or what kind of a mood that I'm in. Sometimes it's, oh, you know what? It'd be really cool to go to North Carolina and do an investigation.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
It'd be cool to be secluded in a ghost town, or I've never been in a place where this many people died, and stuff like that. It's really one of those things where I'll read about 20 or 30 different places and then hopefully find one out of those, but there's no determining factor for what intrigues me or draws me to a place. It's kind of just, I know it when I see it. And it's not like I have a better radar for it. It's different for everybody. Like any other investigation, show them 10 places, they're going to be attracted to one of them the most. And, after doing hundreds of them, it just starts to become a little more than the ghosts, and a little more about the full circle of the building around it.
That's cool. So when you're doing your history as a historian, how do you prefer to conduct your research? Do you think that there's really good data at public libraries or things like that? Do you think that there are really good resources that are out there that people might not know about, just different ways that you can get your deep, more lesser known history and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's not information that's blocked off to anybody as much as it's information that people know how to get, but they're just not willing to do it in terms of calling the location, calling the county chamber, getting in contact with the docents or current staff, or reading through old editorials, or all of this kind of juxtaposed with a deep dive online and seeing what you can find. But I start there. I go on to their website. They always got a history aspect. Like, all right, let's get the rundown of this place. And I'll typically try and speak with their staff a bit. Sometimes they're really unwilling for that, as you can imagine. A random person calling them, hey, I run a popular horror-based Instagram page. Is your museum interested in talking about that real fast? And it's a very quick hang-up, typically. So, and that's why we have numerous team members that kind of spam them sometimes and kind of try and like get it out of them without them knowing that they're giving it to us. Like, I'm interested in coming to see this, but I'm kind of weary because I heard that there's a ghost in this room. Is that true? And they'll be like, well, sometimes. And you gotta just like get it out of them in tricky ways sometimes. But a lot of it, once you kind of just piece together a story from these different resources and the websites and the editorials and speaking with some people, a lot of the really valuable insight and history comes after the fact. I'm thankful the page has gotten big enough to the point where if I post something and I mention a family, there are a number of occasions where their remaining lineage will reach out to me, or former patients from sanatoriums and asylums will reach out. My very last post, actually, I should know it by hand, but I don't. Castleton, that's right, in Circleville, Ohio, not too far from my hometown. But the Ruggles family, they were the original owners of it. But it's a very curious haunt, I described it as, because there's not a lot known about the Ruggles family, where their fortune came from, this and that. And so I kind of just had to jaunt over that a bit. And then it was earlier this morning, Jason Ruggles, a person who married into the Ruggles family, and he's like 65 years old now, reached out to me. We had a phone conversation for about 45 minutes talking all about the family.
Oh, that's awesome. That's priceless.
It really was.
Cool. I love that. Yeah, because that makes sense too, because your following is quite impressive. And it's just so neat. Like I was checking it out and looking at comments and things like that. And it's neat also just to see every now and again, like locals on there will discover something they didn't even know was in their own area.
Yeah, that's really,
and that's so great.
Yeah, I occasionally will touch on a popular spot, but I really try to steer clear of places. If I do a post for 56,000 people talking about Waverly Hills Sanatorium, it's not going to be eye-opening to many people because a lot of people already know. Or, Winchester Mansion or Eastern State Penitentiary or the Amityville Horror House. Everybody knows these prominent haunts, and the real effort of the page is to kind of dive down rabbit hole after rabbit hole until you find things on local websites and local blogs and things like this, and speak with local investigators about haunts that, outside of personal experience and outside of living in that town, people don't know about. And that's not always true for all the posts, but the real effort is to provide insight and history and kind of a compendium of haunted locations that, unless you grew up there, you're never going to hear about.
I love that. And that's definitely something that we've tried to explore with the smaller locations that are a little bit less famous, I guess. But we do run up against that problem, especially with like hotels where they don't want to talk about it. Yeah, and it's really hard to kind of get information.
But it's very rare that I find a hotel that's willing to do a paranormal investigation of any kind. I think I found one. It was actually recently Hotel Monte Vista in Flagstaff, Arizona. In this place, I don't claim to have investigated many hotels, but I've read about many hotels, and this place is truly unique. And I'm very excited. We're talking about getting them on for our 2021 tour and whatnot. So they'd be a very unique location to get on there. But no, typically you got to pay for a room. You got to be a normal guest. Lights go down, the staff is idle downstairs. You just got to wander about with a flashlight and do your own thing. So, and then of course somebody always finds you, a guest or a staff member, and you got to. It's a dangerous game to play, but it's fun.
Yeah. Act like you're not. I'm just taking pictures. So when it comes to the more ghosty side of things, how do you feel about respecting the individuals, even in their past the ghosty situation that they're now in. For example, do you find that educating yourself on the history and their family and what they went through, maybe even like how they died, do you think that you get more of an effect? Do you think that you get more feedback, as it were, from a place that you've brushed up on versus kind of coming in and just being like, is there anybody here?
I would definitely say so. That's always been my approach as an investigator. I'd be shocked if no one did that. And I know a lot of people don't, and it always baffles me. But you would think if you're going into a location and there's 1, 2, or 3 ghosts, there's claims as to who these ghosts are, there's a whole family background, they died in this way in these rooms, and you're really trying to get evidence on them to put on your YouTube channel or social media or share with your team's website. The best way to do it would be to address them by name. Be in the room if you're looking for this individual, not be ignorant to what's going on. I'm definitely a believer in, of course, being respectful to the afterlife. I think it's very asinine for somebody not to be. I mean, I'm almost speechless at the idea that people sometimes are. But they truly, I guess the best way to put it, there are people like us three that are, I would imagine, all respectful of the afterlife, and there are others who treat the field more as a novelty rather than an actual field that you're operating in with specialized technology in very sensitive areas and with very sensitive topic manner, and in what a lot of situations can be very harrowing, dangerous circumstances that you're in yourself, with decrepit buildings and reports of these entities actually being able to physically interact with you. But no, I mean, I personally, by all means, I brush up on all the history. It's the history that attracts me there. It's the history of the family. It's the unique aspects around it all that bring me there. And I certainly try to gear up as best I can and let all parties involved in that investigation be as aware as I am going into it. That way we can, yield the best evidence possible.
Do you feel that, I saw a post on your feed recently, I think it was in Mineral Wells, Texas, which isn't too far from here. You were able to investigate it for the first time, I believe, if I'm not getting it wrong. Do you feel that when you get that first bit of exposure, kind of after it's not been investigated and the dust is all kicked up, do you think there's a stronger effect with that, kind of waking up this sleeping activity?
Yeah, I'm a very big believer in spiritual fatigue, in the sense that putting yourself, if we're to say something is an intelligent haunting, and you have a different individual, a different team of people coming in 3 or 4, maybe more nights a week, shining lights in your face, asking you the same questions, walking around in your room. There are situations where, reportedly these people don't know that they're dead, or where they just don't want you there, or where you're just being really annoying. And, a lot of the time, that's why you start to see a lot of these really active locations die down in how prevalent they're becoming, or it's kind of 50-50 with anything happening in the night. I've experienced that so many times. And I'll say, having been the first one to go in here, how I described it to their owners was, a lot of people died here. There's a lot of history here. And this is the first time in half a century that anything inside had the opportunity to speak with anybody. So I'm like, I kind of took the lid off the can here, and they want to open it up for other investigation teams to come here for the next 3 or 4 months. And I was telling them, like, the people who come here in these next 3 or 4 months while it is open, they're going to experience something unparalleled to anything they've ever seen before, because you got upwards of 6,000 or 7,000 people who've died there. There were satanic rituals in some of the upper floors that the owners had to deal with some of their animals and renovation. And the second floor got a lot of my activity, but it was kind of one of those things where a lot of stuff was happening that night. Things that were, to a trained eye, like us three, we know it's paranormal, but it was in a sense where it's in a way where you can tell they don't quite know how to interact with you yet. They don't know what they're trying to do, or how to get your attention, or what draws you in, or how not to scare you away, or how to scare you away, or something like that. So it opens up July 13th, and it'll be open until October 1st. And I truly believe, I've been to a number of places in Texas, around the country, and the world. This is, so far for me at least, the most haunted place in Texas. It was truly horrifying to be inside of there, but it's only going to get more harrowing with time.
Do you want to share a story? Can you share a story? Anything you experienced?
Yeah, definitely. I guess the best story I could tell, I suppose, beyond bumps and footsteps and voices. My dear mother out in Ohio, she knows I do all this stuff, and she's well aware that I was flying out to Texas to check out this hospital because they wanted me to come in there and open it up for them. And so she makes sure that I tell her, when you wake up, Connor, when you wake up in that hospital, you tell your mother, Mom, I'm not dead in an abandoned hospital. BFE, Texas. Yeah. I will call you immediately. And I certainly do. I call her immediately in the morning. I had just come out of my barricaded second-story restroom I was hiding out in because I had to hide in a room partway through the night. There was some crazy stuff happening. But
oh shit!
As I had her on FaceTime, and I had my phone above my head, kind of so she can see me and like a whole aerial of the floor that I'm on. And we're walking by the cafeteria, this wide open portion of the building, and the kitchen, which is just parallel to it, and actually has a partition in the wall where you can see into both rooms. And I took her around there a bit, and I'm walking back towards the front door. My ride was coming. And as I'm looking at her, speaking to her in the FaceTime, in the corner of the partition nearest me, I thought that I saw a very distinct black figure standing there. And so I triple back. Because, usually you see that, you look over there and there's nothing. But I stopped, saw the camera, turned around, I saw it, and my mind is used to that not being the thing. When I turned around, I'm like, wait, I just saw that, right? And I turn back around, and I feel like I see it, but it's still very dark. It's like 6 a.m. So I pull the flashlight out of my pocket, and I shine it over there. Nothing there, and I turn the flashlight off, and whatever mask was messing with my eyes was now gone, was visually no longer there. So I'm like, is everything all right? I'm like, yeah, I just thought I saw a person standing back there watching me. Say, Connor, I don't like that. Don't tell me that. I'm like, no, we're good. And I keep walking. And as I walk like 3 or 5 more feet, I hear her scream bloody murder. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Someone just ran past the cafeteria. And so
that made my eyes water.
It was not. I turned around. And the thing of it was that right before I said it, I like to talk to the spirits, as any investigator does. And I was standing in the middle of the first floor admin wing, and I just kind of yelled out very loud for the whole first floor, and hopefully floors above me to hear. I'm like, I have the ability to walk out of here right now and open this place up for the nation to come flood into for the next X number of months. Like, I'm not trying to do that for a profit here. Like, if you help do something for me, I can make that not a reality for you. I can stop that from happening, or do something for me. So now I feel like I'm going to get some bad juju because I'm still opening it up to the public. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it was just, they have problems with looters too. There occasionally, luckily I didn't encounter any that night. We were very thorough in locking it down and checking it. But it's Texas, as you guys know, everybody's very gun friendly. So they were very quick in giving me a firearm when I walked in there for the evening. But, I texted my team the next day. I'm like, you know what? I very much valued the experience of staying in an abandoned haunted hospital by myself. If not for being the first one to do it, for being able to say that I stayed in a haunted hospital by myself. I'm never going to do it again. But,
Yeah, seriously, that's something that will never come out of my mouth. Ever. It
wasn't great. I think the biggest misconception amongst people in the investigative community is thinking that in order to be an avid and an efficient investigator, you have to have no sense of fear in doing these things. And I get those kind of messages all the time. I'm like, I'm completely horrified half the time, guys. I'm terrified. I'm scared. I don't go into here because I'm some emotionless, stoic man just marching around. Like, I don't feel anything. Like, there's no fun in that. The fear and the adrenaline is half the drive. It's like, it was a horrifying night. Like, I love this stuff. And I'm telling you right now, I don't ever want to do it again. Like, I'm not walking out of here like, that wasn't a deal. I don't care about it. I'd do that for free. Like, no, it's not going to happen again. It's haunted. Open it up. But just know bad things are going to happen. That place is rough.
A little basic question for you here. What is your absolute favorite location that you've investigated and why?
I think
just pick one right now.
If I had the first one, I always want to say is the very first location I ever went to, Hillview Manor in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Just it was so active the night that we were there. There was so much activity and occurrences. that it dwarfed all other investigations for us for the next 2 or 3 years. And really just had us like, oh, should we even bother doing this? Maybe we should just keep going back to Hillview. Like, that seems to be where it's all happening. The rest of these are kind of low key. But I say it's my favorite for that very reason, not only because of how prevalent it was and how nostalgic it is, like thinking back, 7 or 8 years ago to my first investigation, but it really put into perspective what the value of a investigation is. And it's not necessarily a bunch of things happening or a bunch of occurrences taking place while you're around to witness it, but it's meeting with the people who live there, who work there, who can share their stories that you can't hear over the internet. You can't hear unless you're there, to physically be in a piece of history and share in that history and have the freedom to walk around and explore what life was like there, where tens of thousands went through and thousands unfortunately lost their lives. You quickly learn the value of an investigation is so much deeper than just what happens at night. And I'll definitely say that's one of my favorites because it kind of taught me that, that for years it was like the bane of the paranormal for me, because it's like, nothing's going to be as good as this. It ruined the paranormal for me. But now it's kind of like, no, it framed all what the importance and where, the focal points for me going forward should be.
I love that. That's a very unique way of looking at it. That's very cool.
See, I look at it the opposite way, because we investigated in quotations, the Magnolia in Texas, and we were one of the first people to stay there after they opened it up.
Yeah.
I wanted to leave so bad. But see,
she
the
was
way
so pissed
I almost
off.
look at it the opposite way, because it was so frightening and so much happened. It's like, it's downhill from here. It can't be that bad ever
It
again.
can't get worse. No,
Yeah.
sure. It made my skeptic husband a believer. So,
Really?
I mean, it had worth. Yeah, for
There
sure.
we go. That's all you can really ask for at the end of the day. I'd always, that baffles me. Like my family, they loosely believe in what I do. They love to hear about it, but they don't believe in it. I'm like, well, would you guys go do this with me or go by yourself and do this? And they're like, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. I'm like, okay, I'm like, well, then you're not a skeptic. If you think that they might, you're open-minded to it. Like, that's like every skeptic I've ever met. You try to put them in that situation, they won't do it. Every time it's like, well, it might exist. Like, don't say it doesn't exist because you feel stupid saying it. Like, admit that it's possible, but just say that you're kind of leaning one way.
So is there ever a place, I'm glad you touched on earlier that you're totally human and you get freaked out. It makes me feel better about myself. Have you ever been in a place to where you completely actually noped out, or like to where you want to leave so bad? And how often does that happen?
Almost happened in the Texas hospital. That was very close. My one of my friends came with me. He stayed in the hotel about a half mile down the road, and he really laid into me. Let me know, Conner, if you need me to come get you, if you need a ride, like, my phone is on loud. Call me, Conner. No one's gonna judge you. You can just dip out and head back to AZ, and this ain't no big deal. And I told him to pick me up. I'm like, you have no idea how many times I'm looking at your contacts. And I'm just like, oh, you know what? They were gracious enough to pay for me to get a plane ticket out here. I'm not dipping out. I didn't come here to see horror and leave. I came here to verify it. Mm-hmm. So I was very close to dipping, and indeed, had it been any other location where the people hadn't invested money in me being there, I would have probably left. It really solidified for me the value of having at least one other person there. It was just a rough night. Beyond that, and I hate to just keep bouncing between these two investigations of all of them. The only time beyond that I've ever had to actually step out of the building and like regain myself was the first investigation in Pennsylvania. And that was something that, like, there were 8 of us there. We all at individual times had to do that. Beyond that, I've been around the country doing a bunch of cool things. One place in Sweden, a couple places in Canada. I've never left. And I try to use the financial backing behind it as the motivation. Like, you can't leave. You just paid $400 for a plane ticket. You can't walk out. I hope you enjoy your time at the hotel. And like, you can't do that in your hometown. Like, you came here for a reason. So I really try and keep that in my head as a weak level of motivation, but thus far it's worked quite well.
If it works, it works.
Hey, absolutely. If it got you through staying a night in an abandoned hospital or whatever, I think it's solid. Just stay with it.
If you guys aren't far from Mineral Wells, I can get you guys in there free of charge.
See, Charlie, I feel like would swan dive into that opportunity. When for me, it's just like, sure. I'll leave at dusk. Okay, we should get there at like 2 p.m. I'll do the day investigation.
It's pretty dark on its own. It's a lot of winding. I actually, on 2 occasions, my nightmare came to reality. I was wandering around the first floor of the abandoned haunted hospital, lost, didn't know where I was going or where I came from.
Oh God!
Stairs, and I was on an Instagram live doing it, talking to this one guy, and you can just like hear my breathing and my pace quicken from just kind of jaunting around, just like, oh my god, where did I just come down from? It is the most twisty, turny, windy building, and doesn't look like it's like an L-shaped building from the outside, but they really did not pay attention to that shape of the building on the inside. It made like a...
See, I love that.
It was nuts.
I love architecture, and I love dilapidation.
Well, there you go.
So going to these places in the day is excellent, but it's like, seriously, as childish as it is when the sun sets, like a switchblade. I just want to leave.
You won't go in at all. If you're going in, even during the sun being up, that's good. I will say, there's only one pair of operating lights and one operating outlet in the entire building, and both just happen to be in the basement morgue.
Great.
Yeah, I was so gung ho about staying down there that night before shit started hitting the fan. But it was just, my plan was to just sit down there in the operating chair and watch The Office on my laptop throughout the night and try to really decompress that way. But when it became some things following me around, I didn't quite feel comfortable down there. I wanted the room with a door. And I just wanted to
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This isn't in our list, but that actually spurs me to another question that I wanted to ask. When it comes to, you said following me around, do you believe in this concept of something attaching itself to you and being able to follow you home or something like that? And if so, do you have any steps that you do to like safeguard yourself from that?
Yeah, I have been shockingly fortunate thus far as to be able to say nothing that I know of has attached to me and followed me home from any of these locations. I have a very supportive girlfriend who's very into this stuff and makes damn sure before I go anywhere that I know if you come home and something else is with you, you're not coming in the house. You're not doing anything inside of here. So I'm really, what I think it's about, and it's something that you hear kind of echoed by a lot of big wigs in the paranormal field, a lot of teams. I think it's what you said about, being respectful first and foremost. I think a lot of it is not displaying weakness or malleability around them, because if there is something that wants to attach to you, they, like a lion in the wild, they're going to go for the easiest target. They're going to go for who's the weakest and they can get into and you just make subservient in the easiest manner to them. But I think a lot of it too, and people's views on it differ. I'm a religious man. I pray going into the building. I pray leaving the building. And, that's really all you can do at the end of the day. I truly believe in attachments happening. I've had some colleagues I've worked with who've experienced a lot of things like that. The rhyme or reason to it, if it's just one type of spirit or one type of entity relative to all of them, I couldn't say. Like most areas that I could dive into the paranormal, I could give my 2 cents, but at the end of the day, it's dealer's choice. Whatever you believe, you can say anything under the sun. And while it might sound a little more outlandish, it's just as recognizable as mine right now.
Mm-hmm. So this is actually perfect timing. So along with spirits of humans and things like that, when you do your investigations, do you ever believe you've come in contact or come across non-human entities like fae folk or potentially like elementals, anything like that? I guess demons. Do you ever feel that you've come across those, and do they feel different?
I'm sure I've encountered a lot of spirits who were displaying themselves as something that were actually something else. I'm sure I've been in a lot of situations where there are more spirits around me, a lot of them of a variety that I was unaware of their actual being, their actual power. speaking directly to a demonic entity, there's only been one instance where I, for sure, was dealing with a demonic entity. One of my teammates, Alex Myron, back in Ohio, he had a contact for a number of years outside of the Columbus area. A family, 3 girls, all beautiful girls, like 5 and 6 years old, so sweet, great family. And he was like the vice president of a bank. This was like a very well-to-do suburban house. And which is not what I was picturing. After hearing about this place for 3 years, and Alex driving us there to meet his family, we pulled up like, oh, God, this is a very nice house. I would live in this house. But it was probably one of the most compelling nights of my life in the paranormal. The family had been struggling, what I had heard, with possession, primarily of the wife. And we got in contact with the Catholic Diocese of Columbus to help us out and see if we couldn't try and diagnose this for a certainty that it was a possession, or at least make some tangible steps to get rid of it. And we had a very in-depth conversation with this family. And it was, what they had experienced was beyond anything I had ever heard before. Typically with a demonic entity, at least in popular recountings and accounts and locations that are to the house such malevolence, it always takes the form of, like a child or like a beautiful woman, or it's trying to throw off what it actually is, but it's always one form. Whatever was in this house, I have no hesitation saying was the most powerful entity I've ever seen of, I've ever heard of. It took a completely different form and a completely different tactic for every single member of the family. The daughters kept seeing both a little boy and a little girl, both in like 1920s. They drew pictures of it. The husband was saying it's almost like they were 1920s paper deliveries or warehouse workers. But they had like weird, like long johns and like overalls and stuff like that. That's how the kids saw them. The wife kept walking out into the living room and seeing a man, a headless man in a flannel shirt, just rocking back and forth in the armchair.
Fuck that.
The grandmother on the other side, a complete skeptic, visited them once every 4 months, I believe, because she lived up just in Michigan, has not been there in 5 years after her first time being there. She saw, on 2 occasions having been there, an old woman standing by her bed, who when she came in would jump on the floor and crawl underneath the bed.
I'm sorry. I just need a minute to process the words that you just said to me.
It's getting very bad for them, even still, from what I'm aware. The son, the only person in the family who was experiencing a lot of things, but had not visually seen something, was the husband. The husband also happened to be the only person in the family who openly professed a belief in what was going on and something on a different wavelength and, afterlife existing. And it was very interesting. They were all very closed off to it, despite their many encounters. But he was the one who was professed about it. He invited us into the house. He was the one person who nothing had shown itself to. And it scared me hearing these stories, because I'm like, this takes energy even for a demon to do. And for a demon to be able
and it's
to,
intelligent.
Yeah. For a demon on a nightly basis to manipulate itself into 4 or 5 different figures, different beings, different ages, different gowns, and to completely manipulate the mind of 5 different people without even blinking. It's a power beyond anything I've ever heard of, and something that truly is distressing to know about for this family. So we went in there and we investigated for a good 3 hours, and nothing was happening. We heard like a bump or a bang over here, but it was most likely just the house settling or something like that. The first time something happened, and this was the catalyst to the rest of the evening, things were just hitting the fan. We were in the master bedroom, where the wife said that most nights she wakes up and there's something standing in the corner by their armoire. And the husband had even reported, like, I've woken up and seen like a mist over there, but like I see a mist, like she can actually see a person. So we're in there and nothing's happening. And as an investigator, that was getting frustrating. I don't get very mad often. I'm a pretty even-tempered guy. And saying it out loud now, I'm kind of thinking like, it's possible. Like this thing was like feeding off of us, but I kind of didn't yell, but I exclaimed. I'm like, you know what? There's something here. We can all feel it. And the thing of it is that it knows we know that it's here. It's standing in the corner of every single room. It is standing right behind us in every single step that we take, and it's watching us. It's just toying with us. And we had a REM pod in the middle of bed this entire time. And I finally just say, like, you know what? It doesn't care. It doesn't want to show itself to us. It doesn't want to play with us. The only thing it wants to do is take this family. And the second we say that, the REM pod just lights up. And I don't mean like how you see it on Ghost Adventures or how you see it on Ghost Hunter. Like, it's like a beep, and that was it. I have never seen this. It held a 60-second uninterrupted pause. Like something... It takes like 3 spears to light that thing.
That's cocky.
One thing touched it and held it on for longer than any human entity can do. And so we heard that, and then we hear footsteps like run out of the bedroom. And so we have priests with us. And so I start saying the incantations. I don't know. That's not probably not right. The prayers. Starts breaking out your religious arsenal, whatever you brought with you. And they say it 2 or 3 times, and nothing is happening. And I'm like, you guys we have to fill the room with this. We're not going to say it one time and Satan has vanished. You got to keep saying it. You got to be at it. So they keep saying it some more. And after like the 9th or 10th time, you hear this like rustle in the kitchen, like so someone's like moving something on like their granite countertop. And I'm like, I yell, I'm like, say it again. They say it again, and Alex, who was standing by the staircase, jumps back, screaming, like, I think something just touched me or like ran through him. I yell, say it again. And you hear footsteps that are just pounding up the stairs going towards the kids' bedrooms. And I just keep yelling, say it again. And he says it again, and we all see this white mist just shoot across the playroom of the kid's bedroom. And I just keep yelling, say it again, say it again, say it again. And you hear footsteps pounding above us in the playroom. You hear this table that like flips over inside of there, and we're sprinting up there with the priests. At this point, we're done saying the prayers. And we go back, we follow the visual, the audio activity that we all, as just plain human beings, heard clear as day. And behind this pink tent that they had set up in the back of the kids' playroom was where we saw a table had flipped over by. And we pushed the tent aside, this pink little Barbie tent. It was a bunch of stuff, a bunch of clutter in that room. And right in the corner behind everything was this small little crawl space that led back into like, what was this above the parents' room. And we just looked in there, and of course, knowing the answers, looked at each other like, all right, so who's going in there? I'm like, no one's going in there. We're just like, we didn't know what happened. We saw this all go down. And so, but we were, while that was scary to see, we were relieved. We had just practiced a forceful religious statement in the house, and it had chased whatever this assumedly very powerful entity was out of the building into what we could only assume was a portal where it was lying dormant, something like that. And so we told that to the family when they came home. The daughters all went to their bedrooms with the grandmother, and we spoke with the husband and wife. And we kind of said everything that had happened that night, some voices we had heard, some stuff with the REM pod, and we kind of left that on the note of like, we're giving you guys power. Something is here. Something is trying to feed off you guys, but you're more powerful than it is at the end of the day. Like, it can just scare you. You can chase it out. And so we got in our cars. We'd all driven separately, and we're going down the highway, and we hop onto a 3-way call. And I was proud of that. It was one of the first moments in my life as an investigator where I felt like I personally, just doing this as an enthusiast and a hobbyist, actually brought relief to a family experience a haunting. It was a very proud moment. Cool. And when we hopped on the 3-way call, it was the first thing I said. I'm like, Blake, Alex, guys, that was a crazy night. We didn't stamp anything. It's all done. We solved this haunting. But you know what? We gave them answers. We verified things, and we instilled them with the power to go forward. And Alex is like, Connor, I just got a call from the dad. And I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, we didn't get rid of it, man. And so I obviously a lot of just not, I want to say not good excitement, but like excitement. Like,
Right.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, what's going on? How is it possible? We just watched this go down. And he's like, well, they felt good about it. Apparently, they went into the girls went to sleep. The grandma was staying with them all in their room. And the husband and wife went into their bedroom. They went into their restroom. And all the lights are off in the house. They're getting ready for bed. I don't know how you sleep in a house like that, but they're getting ready for bed. But they are doing their nightly routine at the sink. And as they're doing that, and he actually described to Alex the song that they were hearing, they heard somebody whistling Daisy, Daisy in the walk-in closet. Like, what is it, like, Daisy, Daisy, give me what to do.
Pick the creepiest song, why don't
right?
you?
Great.
They said that and
That's taunting.
it wasn't just something like a quick tune. Like, something was whistling inside of there, and from like a vantage point of being right in front of the doorway watching them for an uninterrupted 10 or 15 seconds. And he said that his wife like barricaded herself in the shower, and he like stood in front of the shower, and they hear thundering footsteps come out onto the tile floor from the closet, and they just hear footsteps sprinting out of their room and going upstairs to the daughter's bedroom. I don't want to hear any more. Like, figure out when we can get back in there. And like, we brought priests. Yeah. Like, we know now. We like it came right back through, but we know that there's a portal. Like, this is something we can't do. We got to bring in specialists for this. Like, we need to bring in the people who everyone thinks is mumbo jumbo, but they can actually do something pretty powerful, like who can specialize. And we have a contact of closing portals down in Florida, and they're coming up at the end of the summer. We're going to get back in there and try and.
Good.
Great.
But the problem with it is that the family very likely might not make it till then. The things that are
I don't
happening
blame
to
him.
my wife are absolutely astonishing. She's losing periods of time. She almost lost her job because for 2 or 3 days in 1 week, she sat there in her chair staring at a wall for about 3 or 4 hours. And she thought that she had just gotten to work, and she'd spent almost the entire day just sitting there staring at nothing. And it's getting to the point now where the daughter is waking up in the middle of the night and coming into their room and is like speaking in a weird voice, talking to them. It's literally everything. I've never encountered this. I always thought this was like Hollywood mumbo jumbo.
It's the stereotypes.
I went there. I'm telling you, like, they showed us videos. They showed us pictures. Like, I have never seen anything like this. And I don't want to verifiably say it is all true, but I consider myself a specialist in debunking this kind of crap. And it is, she had scratches on her body. They had pictures of things happening and videos of sound recordings of their daughter speaking. It was just beyond me. And so I was telling the team, I'm like, we got to get in there sooner than the end of this summer. Like, this thing is working on a possession, and there are 3 steps to that. First, it's going to...
And it's succeeding.
First, you have the haunting, you have the oppression, then you have the actual possession. Like, haunting's done. Haunting's been here for years. The oppression, it's fully taking over their daughter, and it's like hurting the mother. They are about a month out of this thing fully taking one of them. So it's a very scary situation to be in.
That was intense.
Yeah, I just kind of have to download that information.
Oh shit! Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing, and I think it's very helpful for people to hear stuff like that, skeptic or not, just to take away the base message there of you don't necessarily need to stamp anything, like you said. You can just understand what is going on within your house and to have that power. Like you said, there's a power in that, I think.
There truly is. There truly is. I mean, the worst part is, being in kind of a state of hiatus, not knowing how to go forward. And it's always that stereotype of the macho dad wants to protect the family, but you can't fight what you can't see. You can't fight what you can't hear, what you don't understand. And you're just sitting there watching it send it all into turmoil. But I was wrong in thinking we had done that. I think we had very temporarily done that. But it's it is a haunting that will stick with me forever as probably the most just textbook haunted, something out of The Exorcist possession of a house.
Evil.
It's nothing but evil. It truly is. We had a whole conversation. I didn't mention this. Once we did that REM pod, we kept trying to play with the REM pod out in the family room, and it was super responsive. I wish I had the recording. I would put my phone right here and show it to you guys. But we talked to it. We'd be like, is there a little girl in this room? We knew it was probably a demon. See if it was identifying as that. And it lights up. And we're like, we wanted to see if it would just light up for anything. Like, is there a boy in this room? And it stays silent. And we're like, do you like to say that you're 6 years old? And it just lights up. And like, are you actually a different age? And it stays small. And then this time, my friend Blake kind of got mad. He's like, well, that's all well and good for them, but you and I both know what you are. And they're like, you're not 6 years old, are you? And it lights up. And it goes off. And it's like, well, how old are you? And it stays quiet. And so we started toying with it. And we're like, 2050s, that can be a spirit. Are you like 100 plus? It lights up. And then we're like, are you a demon? And it just stays quiet. And then you just hear footsteps walking across the upstairs hall. And it was just, I've never had so much seemingly definitive proof of you're interacting with the direct spawn of Satan. And it was just horrible.
What a cocky bastard.
Yeah.
It knows that it has all the power. Whatever this is, it is really good. We had 3 priests in that house blessing it. They brought in mediums, psychics, the Catholic diocese 4 times prior, and they had to tell them to stop because every time they came, the activity got worse and worse. You got to get the Pope in there or something.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued at the mentioning of kind of getting the specialist of someone who can close down these portals. Charlie and me know someone who's able to do that kind of work. Her stories are so frightening. But she will just go about it just like, oh, yeah, like this is what we did. We trapped this thing in a mirror or whatever, And so I'm very interested to hear how that goes because there's great power in people who can do that kind of work.
I'm very hopeful that it will turn out better than the rest of the outcomes have thus far.
Yeah. And I hope that family finds some peace because that's awful. That's something that you're going to struggle with in some way for the rest of your life. I feel strange just going back into the questions after that.
The real world. Yeah.
Is there a common misconception or something you feel is a misconception about spirit communication or I guess investigation, hauntings in general that you would like to set the record straight on?
If there is one thing I could say, it's kind of half setting the record straight and a half expressing a pet peeve of a lot of people I've worked with or I've had it sent in to me. The biggest, everybody always thinks you have to define yourself as I go in skeptical and I lead with that. And that way I'm as unbiased as possible. Others are just like, ghosts exist and I'm going in here to give them relief and offer them peace in their whatever their existence and their realm may look like right now. And these aren't two classes. They're kind of like two halves of the same coin here. I think it is so important in communicating with spirits and using the immense amount of technology that there is now and that you have to go in skeptical. I have worked with so many teams where I'll just give a couple of examples to supplement it, where they force themselves to hear things that aren't there. They force their eyes to see things that aren't there. Like, we were at this place called the Gill House in Ohio doing a spirit box session, and nothing is coming through. But I'm sitting around this table with a group of friends that one of my other investigator friends knew who wanted to come with us. And it was like 7 of them, so a lot of them. So human interference is a big issue already. But the spirit box, of course, is like nothing is coming through. And then all of a sudden, I don't want to say all of a sudden as though like this is what we were waiting for, but just a little blip comes through, like it always does. We heard like a and they're all like, "Oh my God, you all hear what I just heard?" Looking around at each other, I'm like, "What did you hear?" It said, "Go to the basement." And I'm just sitting there like, you guys gotta be shitting me. That did nothing. And it's funny. I always think about it and talk with them about it. Like, you brought the worst group of people along, let me tell you. But I have so many people who will send me pictures, and I feel very rude when they're so adamant about what they just captured. And they're like, do you see it? Do you see it? They don't say where it is in the picture. and it's just a picture of their backyard half the time. And I'll be like, an interesting picture. What is it you think you captured and where? It's like,
it's a good way to kind of respond.
Yeah,
and they're
definitely.
like, don't you see the man standing there by my porch? And I'll just look at it. I'm like,
No.
I'm good at noticing this stuff. Like, I don't see it. You know, people have so many preconceived notions of what they're going to hear, what they're going to experience, and what communication is going to be like. And the paramount thing to keep in your overall arsenal is kind of an overlooming thing of doubt that you'll get any of it. If you have doubt when you're going to do any of it, and it comes along, you're going to approach it in such a more practical manner, and you're going to analyze it for what it actually is and not what you want it to be. And that really is kind of the last nail in the coffin for a lot of these investigators, in that they try to throw so much evidence around to TV shows and different outlets, and myself sometimes. And I don't want to say they look silly doing it, but it's like, you guys sometimes look silly doing it. Like, I love it.
That's
For
absolutely.
sure.
I
I love all the submissions. Be it real or not, I love that people are willing to share that kind of stuff with me. But to save them the time and the horror that they're no doubt very real feeling, you know, you probably didn't just capture what you think you just captured. And you really need to, like, sleep on it, wake back up, look at it again, share it with another investigator. Don't tell them what you think you see or what you heard. See what they saw or they heard, because it is just the easiest thing in the world to confuse it. And everybody, myself as well, in the past, and no doubt in the future, has fallen victim to that. And it's just probably the biggest misconception. Everyone thinks you're going to go everywhere and get something. Usually you won't.
Yeah. That kind of made me want to pounce into this next question. So talking about tools and technology and things like that you use when you investigate, what are your thoughts on old-fashioned spirit boards?
I've been the owner of one in the past. I could not tell you what happened to it. I think I'm not dispelling that they work or not. I would love to see one work. I'm yet to see it, and mainly that's just because 9.99 out of 10 places you go to, somewhere in the waiver you sign says in some words or so, no rituals, no spirit boards, nothing like that. And once again, if my girlfriend found that in the house, she'd be very upset. So.
Respect, yeah.
No, I believe in that. You know, I'm not going to sit here and, having seen everything that I've seen, and say I have never seen a spirit board work, because I've only used one once or twice. So I think it'd be very, very cool to see it work. But even if it did, I'd be so skeptical. Like, somebody here moved it. Somebody did something.
Unless you're operating it solely.
Yeah. But isn't that like something you're not supposed to do?
I wouldn't.
I think
Charlie might.
The same person would.
I might.
I don't say goodbye. Do not play alone.
Yeah, there's rules.
Yeah. I think they get a bad rap.
I always thought having at least 2 or 3 people being a part of it was one of those, like, primary rules. Like, don't do this alone.
Mm-hmm. And I'm totally the person who would move it and be like, I don't know what's going on. So there's always one person like that. All right. So a lot of the times when we go to mostly hotels to do investigations, what we found is through our own research, the history of the place, the actions performed by the living human beings through history were so much worse than the hauntings that were going on in the place. There's a lot that happens in these really old buildings that are awful and terrible and really stain the, they just stay in that point in history. And that is so much worse than somebody who's like, I saw a lady walking down the hallway. Have you found that you've come against that, where the history of living human beings is scarier than the ghosts themselves?
Oh, yeah, it escapes me what the adage is, but you always hear, like, I'm more afraid of the living than I am of the dead. And, that couldn't be more true. At the end of the day, for any place that has a strong degree of paranormal activity, be it, malicious happenings that occurred there once upon a time to people, inadvertent accidents and tragedies, at the end of the day, whichever way you're leaning, it's the actions and the lifespan of the living that cause the haunting. So, people are a lot more horrifying than ghosts will ever be. And not least of all, because, for the most part, ghosts can startle you, but the humans are the one that can make you join them.
Yeah, exactly.
And in Texas, I
like that,
characters out there. So I know it's people out in Texas can be scary sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah. I have kind of a weird question for you. So I love conspiracy theories. It doesn't even matter if I think that they're bullshit. I just love untying those threads. So I'm curious to know your thoughts. Some investigators out there believe that the phenomenon, so spirits and whatnot, even demons, different entities, are all weirdly connected and coming from the same place. I mean, even this like lumps in Bigfoot. Like all of these strange cryptids, strange phenomenon, things like that, come from a different dimension, and in reality aren't like coming from somewhere else. They're just slipping through into our reality and going back to a different one. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's there are layers to things like this. You got the people who are willing enough to say, such as myself, I love cryptozoology. I think it's so fantastically outlandish that every portion of my heart wants it to exist. But and while I've heard it, I've never really fed in to the idea that not only are there cryptids all around us, but they are also just dimensional travelers, just shifting in and out. Not personally.
You got to believe a whole lot.
Outlandish in and of itself. That what's adding one more twist to it? Just throw it on in there.
You get to that point, honestly, to where it gets so weird. You're just like,
sure,
why not?
I absolutely love cryptozoology, and I don't get to do enough at all related to that. But I know my big plan, I'm from the Ohio area. When I go back to visit family, I want to try and go to the Mothman Festival. Enjoy that for a bit.
So do you ever plan on doing any, I'm a self-professed Bigfoot fan. I think he's great. Would you ever do a Bigfoot investigation?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I think my interest in doing research and investigations more centered around cryptids came later on, once the page had already existed, and the people that I have a core base of that do such things with me are all widely separated. So out here in Arizona, I don't know that there's many cryptids. The living creatures are all pretty horrifying. But I certainly, when I go back out to Ohio or to the Tennessee area, I know there's so much lore for different Bigfoots. And, I want to say it. I believe in Bigfoot in the sense that we find like 5,000 new species a year. It's like everybody.
There you go. It's the most sensible.
Yeah, everybody's like, oh, I think we found like only half of the species that currently exist on Earth. And I think to find for one species so reported and accounted on over the span of centuries in every corner of the globe to exist, and to say amongst all the discoveries we're still making that something not exactly Bigfoot, but that resembles Bigfoot, that is what everybody's seeing, doesn't exist, is not only directly against the face of science, but is just complete arrogance, well, ignorance, I should say, to what truly exists out there.
That's wonderful.
I knew we weren't going to make it through without talking about Bigfoot. There is a theory out there that when you renovate a building and you kind of kick up that dust, you get more spirit activation. I wanted to see what you thought about that. Don't laugh at me, Macy. What you thought about that. Have you noticed a difference in a place that has been renovated versus has not?
And this might be a rambling answer. I certainly understand what you're saying. I've heard a lot of stories, read a lot of stories, people who are doing updates, renovations, doing something as easy as putting drywall over to fix a wall. And yeah, like you said, it activates the spirits. And, people who weren't seeing these things before, start seeing them again. And I've always loosely had a theory for it. Here's my thing. And this could be the most wildly chaotic thing I say this entire interview. I think a lot of it comes back to the stone tape theory. happening.
Oh, I love the stone tape theory.
I think the stone tape theory has a much wider breadth of applicability to buildings than what we currently understand. But here's the thing. If you are to take it at its face value, that the stone tape theory is a reality that spirits' memories, their emotions, and some phantasmic just constellation of their being is imprinted in it that is feeding their activity, then you need to really think, well, then why are they showing up when renovations are happening? Modern renovations are taking out the stone tape theory material that usually went into constructing a building. It's very likely not what the popular conception is, that we're renovating and they hate that we're changing up how their building is. It's very likely, I don't say very likely, but my theory is that as you start taking away the structure that imprinted their memories and their being, you start taking away their existence in the afterlife, and you start taking away what they could have done before. When you renovate, when you take out the stone, not stone tape, with the limestone, the granite, and this, that, and this, and that, you're actually fully ridding yourself of them. And they're trying to amp up because they need to somehow stop you, because if you don't, your place is no longer going to be haunted.
That's very sad.
It is. It's a theory. I just thought, if there's an actual fuel source that's fueling this through the stone tape theory, and you remove that fuel source, and I think it's another theory as to why this could be happening.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And you can think about it from the perspective of these old, and of course, they've had more time to develop more energy, deaths, things like that. But these old stone buildings and castles and things, old hospitals, it does seem like there's a good amount of retention there. Yeah. And it could be because the material is letting them do it.
Yeah, that's my most chaotic thing to say. That was my one personally unique, possibly also outlandish theory into the paranormal.
That makes perfect sense to me.
It makes big if true.
Don't know how to prove it, but there you go. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, when you go into, and I know you did the hospital one on your own, but do you ever incorporate metaphysical elements into your investigations, like bringing along clairvoyance or maybe protection tonics or divination tools like pendulums? Do you bring those with you? Are those in your toolbox usually? Not
usually. The ones that I have utilized in the past have been psychic mediums, and that's the source of a lot of questions that I've gotten in the past by some followers, just how to properly utilize them. I think they're a very good tool, very beneficial to come in blind and kind of supplement everything you're saying with the exact same stuff from an outside perspective with no knowledge. The issue there being is that they're kind of a dime a dozen. Everybody claims to know how to do this or how to properly do that or see the other side. But I think the most beneficial thing to do when it comes to at least that one aspect of using metaphysical tools in an investigation is actually forming a relationship with somebody, getting to know them, finding some degree of reputability, not just looking online and finding the nearest person to you that can do it, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you whatever you want them to say because you paid them to do it, rather than, actually give you valuable input.
Well, the protection witch in me is dying to send you some tonics so you don't walk into another house with a damn demon.
Feel free to send me tonic. I'm not going to, throw that away. I'll have it. I'll bring it with me. My friend's mother, she's ridiculously religious. Reads the Bible every single day. Religious, and she always goes out and gets this anointed holy water cloth for us to keep in our pockets whenever we go somewhere. Thank you.
Whatever helps.
It's I am a grown man. I certainly appreciate what seems to be every team member's mother wanting to get involved to protect their child. But it's we are 26, 27, what's going to happen? And you just got to accept that.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Wow. Yeah, really, and because we're skeptical, Charlie and me, on a lot of things, even in witchcraft, and that's what we do. It's almost just a safety net. It's a comfort. When we're spraying down with this tonic, we're you sons of bitches can't get us, even though it's you might know they can a little.
Oh, my God.
You feel better.
That's how I am with praying. I'm a very scientifically minded guy, but I was raised Christian, and I, kind of cover myself in God right now. I certainly have doubts and whatnot. But I've prayed since I can remember, and I'm not sure if it does anything, but it's something that personally brings me comfort.
Yeah, you find strength in that. And I think that's important,
Everybody needs to find something like that, be it a
now.
tool, be it religion, be it their own value.
Yes.
If you go in blind, you go in naked like that, you're just asking for something to, like we said earlier, attach to you and really feed off the weak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for whatever works. Just whatever. Doesn't matter how you do it, however you embody it, if it's a religion, if it's anything, just whatever works.
For me, a lot of the ways, especially when it comes to physical tools, anything we might carry on us, it kind of comes down to the placebo effect to me. And I'm okay with that. Because I think if it's invoking enough feeling in you so you feel protected,
it'll strengthen your resolve.
Exactly,
yeah. What advice do you have for those who are wanting to get into the paranormal investigation world, but they want to do it like the right way?
Yeah. Again, a question I get a lot of messages about, and I always try to make it clear, and the analogy I always try to give them is like, detectives have a lot of different roles. Some of them are sitting at home running the phone. Some of them are at the office and they're just doing support, and some of them are out in the field. Like, I feel like everybody thinks I'm not involved in the field. I can't consider myself an investigator. I'm no authority in this thing that I'm passionate about and I want to be involved with, unless I go and spend exorbitant amounts of money at a very scary location and somehow rummage together X number of people to be as interested as I am. I always tell people, like, half of the evidence that teams find is from putting it online or putting it on TV and viewers seeing it. Mm-hmm. Half the locations they investigate are from the diligent research and note-taking of people who follow them and people who see it. And, X, Y, and Z, once again, they're like, there's so much that happens behind the scenes besides just those people that go into locations. If you're going into a location, be smart about it. Strength in numbers. Maybe don't start alone in an abandoned hospital. If it goes somewhere else. There's always a bunch of places around you. There's so many museums and historical locations that offer guided day tours for the paranormal, that offer community tours that everybody can come into at night, like a 2-hour guided flashlight tour. There are so many opportunities, even in like small neck of the woods. You might have to drive a bit that you can look into. But even if that's something that a person's not ready to do, just sitting around and watching, researching, following, having an interest, and being one of the open-minded, like-minded individuals willing to lend a voice towards something that a lot of society thinks is so fantastically out there, that's half the battle. And just doing that is that makes you an investigator. That makes you an enthusiast. In my books, at least, and I think you'd be hard fought to find somebody who disagreed. You are a investigator.
I love that. That's nice and inclusive. So I have one last question for you. So I'm curious to know this before we close and whatnot. What do you have? What are you working on? What is something that you're excited to share, or anything like kind of in the pipeline that you want to announce or anything like that? It just however you'd kind of like to end on.
Well, first and foremost, as we mentioned, this is not necessarily a plug, but just a cool opportunity. As we mentioned about the Beach Army Hospital in Mineral Wells, Texas, it is opening July 13th. Construction begins there later this year. I can personally attest that it is very haunted, but it will only be open for 3 or 4 months. The website is going live off of their company next week, I believe. I'll be posting all about it on my page, but be sure to go on there. Anybody who's interested in reserving a spot in like one of Texas's most haunted towns, with what I'm sure is going to become one of the state's most haunted locations over the span of these next couple months. So it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you will literally probably never get the chance to do again, because it's closing again in 3 or 4 months.
I want to, but I don't want to at all. It's a weird mix because I want to go.
The listeners are not going to let us know.
The whole thing behind it, what's really interesting about this place is that it was a part of the Fort Walters military installation. So it was active duty military personnel and veterans who both went through, and a number of them, unfortunately, who met their end here. But the owner of what is Beach Army Hospital LLC, Brett Hobson, also owns Perfect Technician Academy in the Weatherford, Texas area, which is an HVAC trades training school that specializes in bringing in veterans from around the country and training them to transition out back into civilian careers after their time overseas.
That's nice.
And so it's really interesting because the the plan is, it was recently announced that the Beach Army Hospital LLC is going to lease out after some renovations to Perfect Technician Academy. That is the plan. So what was once the final resting spot of thousands of veterans is once again going to become the home of the new life for all these new veterans. It's a very admirable business that Brett works in. He's a great guy. He's a great owner. He's very awesome for wanting to open this up for the paranormal world, something that prior to 3 weeks ago he had never heard of. So he was very open-minded, very quick to be about it. But that's kind of a segue into all the money coming in for this is going into renovating the building for the school and for the veterans coming into it.
All right, yeah. Well, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we might go. Shit.
No, we got the Haunted Historian 2020 tour is coming up this October in the East. So I guess that's a very segmented thing. We're kind of demoing it, but then next year we got a lot more locations across the country. YouTube channel coming this October as well. Bunch of things in the work. Nothing quite here just yet, but you know, I've had a lot of people asking about a YouTube channel, and it's taken me a year and a half to theorize what my YouTube channel would be, because I don't want to be every other Mike, Dick, and Joe who does paranormal hunting on YouTube. So it was a lot of bringing on some producers and graphic designers and people like this to actually make it like a high quality production for when it comes out.
Oh, I'm excited for that. Absolutely. Where can we find your Instagram as it is right now?
Yeah, you know, if you just search Haunted Historian, The Haunted Historian, it'll pop right up. Nice spooky picture of me in a jean jacket right there. You'll see if I get a black background. The story, I get a lot of compliments on that picture. The way I took it, I leaned back against my solid white garage door and put a black yoga mat behind me and leaned my head against it to hold it in place. Turned portrait mode on one camera, and then turned another camera's light on above me, and then edited out the background so it just looks spooky. So
Love
phones
it.
could do a lot of
I
stuff.
am so happy to know that.
It is not. It was a completely free picture, and how I got it was very silly. If you're creative enough, anything can be good.
Yeah.
Hey, we feel that our podcast is pretty much held together with just like gum and tape.
Yeah.
So I feel that.
Well, I've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
I'm glad that you did. We've been so excited.
Yes. So happy to have you on. Thank you so much for doing this.
Pleasure, always.
Oh, yes. We could do it for hours, as you can tell. If you ever need any witches, you know who to just think about it.
Reach out to you guys.
We're here.
And if you guys have to get chained to your tune and you want a free entry into that hospital, just DM me. I'll get you in there.
Yes.
I'm going to sleep on it. It might be a yes because I understand the
I'll convince her.
opportunity element.
I was going to say,
And that's hard to give
it'd be
up.
a fun place to do a podcast on location.
Oh, look at her. She's so ready.
I'm so excited. My face is getting red. All right. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Conner, so much. We've really appreciated this. We'll get out of your hair. Until next time, I guess.
I appreciate it. You guys have a good one. I'll talk to you guys soon, though.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one.
Bye.
We've got a real treat.
Charlie, on this very special Spookysode 10, double digits, 10 Spookysodes, 105 episodes, we have a very special sponsor.
Please tell me in exactly the same fashion.
This very special sponsor to our Spookysode 10, double digits,
105 episodes.
is StellaLunaLLC. So, Stella Luna, one of Connecticut's most loved witch shops, is now online. You could browse their adorable website of their adorable shop, which is an extensive collection of over 700 unique items, including their own in-house Stella-made exclusives.
That includes crystals, herbs, jewelry, and so much more. Build your witchy apothecary with their large selection of organic and wild-crafted herbs. Make pampering a part of your daily ritual with their Sexy Witch line of personal care products. Peek into the Stella Luna Shadow Book with their custom spell kits that come complete with everything you need. Easy and effective. And, like May said last time, y'all have got to check out their best-selling Sacred Sage Spray and customer favorite, Clearing Candle. You have burnt the shit out of your clearing candle, right?
I love it. I love it. I love it to death. The smell is great. I'm obsessed with it. I need another one. And I use that. I actually used the Sacred Sage spray today in my spell work. So there's some good stuff happening with these goodies from Stella Luna. You can, if you wanna look into Stella Luna for yourself, you can like them on Facebook at StellaLunaLLC, follow them on Instagram at StellaLunaLLC, and shop with them over at StellaLunaLLC.com. All of them are the same because they have it all together. New items added regularly.
Listeners of the Witch Bitch Amateur Hour, what's our podcast? The Witch Bitch Amateur Hour Wabine listeners can use the code Witch Bitch for 20. That's 0% off of your total order now through September 8th.
Yeah, and have fun. Do it. Set aside some time to really dig through that website because it is extensive. There's a ton of really cool stuff, and the pricing is fair.
I love the pre-made spell kits. That I am so about that, and we have so many people write in and say, I don't know where to start. I know that this herb is for this and this is for this, but I don't know how to put a full spell together. Here's your solution. I'm Billy Mays here.
Hi, I'm Vince with Spell Kit. It's perfect. That's all you need.
You're gonna love my spells. With this episode, we are going to have a horrific collection of spooky tales. And we're going to kick it off with Carmen M.
Hello, ladies. My name is Carmen. I'm 45 from the Pacific Northwest. Wife, mom, and finally getting in touch with my witchy side. I've had some things to share now that I've had time to process. I'm hoping to share some of these so I won't feel so alone. And hopefully people have similar experiences. Oh, so I know I'm not certified batshit crazy. I've just listened today to the Working with Ancestors episode, which made me decide to write to you guys. Backstory is when I was younger, I was always drawn to Wicca, spellcasting, and tarot cards, but I was brought up Catholic and Spanish-Irish to boot. Raised by my grandparents, who were super overprotective and very Catholic, my interest was kept a secret, so I didn't end up in a nunnery. My grandma has been gone now for 4 years. For 4 years, and I've finally been able to semi-come clean, even to my husband, who doesn't really believe in it but loves me anyway. Yeah. Last April, our daughter, who has had endometriosis issues for over 7 years, so sorry, was told after a procedure that she had a slim to none chance of conceiving. We were all devastated, but besides that, I was really pissed. My daughter and her husband are the kind of people who are the high school sweethearts that got married and are active in the community, helping out. I couldn't believe that this could happen to them. About 3 months later, I went to work and felt off since I had woken up. While sitting in a report, I work in an ICU at our hospital, this memory flooded me. I was in a gray room, and my mom, Grandma, passed 2014, and Dad, passed 2005, also known as Grandpa, were there. A bright light on my right side showed up, and my sister, passed in 2012, was there. I started crying and remember Mom, Dad, and BB. They all said, "It's okay, we'll take care of her. It's not as bad as it seems." I woke up and didn't remember it all until I was at work. 2 weeks later, my daughter had an appointment with a fertility doctor to go over the procedure and for a second opinion. My daughter called after her meeting sobbing, saying the doctor said, "It's not as bad as you think," verbatim what they had said, and just try to see what happens. She got pregnant within a month of trying, and now my granddaughter is 4 months old.
Aww.
I have no words, but I feel as if they came to me, or has this happened to you guys? Or am I batshit? This is pretty long, so I apologize. We've had a couple of other instances with my parents and my mom's dad who came to visit her. So if you're interested, I'll send too. Thank you both so much for doing this podcast and for all that you've shared. That's very sweet. I like it when we get sweet ones in here.
That is very sweet. It is sweet, and I totally am a believer that spirit can, not necessarily change biology or anything like that. However, I think when it comes to putting the spirit within the body, that maybe they're like, I'm going to step in here. So that's very cool. Our next story comes to us from Natalia V. My family has always had its ghosts and scary stories.
My sister and I used to see things when we were little, and my parents have experienced some stuff along the years too. But this story is the closest one to me. A year ago, my dad gifted me his 20-year-old car, a bit worn out, powerful, but full of history. I get that, those cars that have been around for forever, but you get gifted them, you're like, I love this car. I have traveled so much in that car. It was, and still is, my first car. I got it 2 months after I passed my exams. Some months later, on the way to the cinema to watch It, or some film like that, I had a bit of a scare. My boyfriend was sitting next to me, and when I looked in the rear mirror, I saw someone sitting behind him. Ugh, a man. I could almost see the face. I got terrified, almost paralyzed. It was in an instant, and then I couldn't see him anymore. Really quietly, I said to my boyfriend, I just saw someone behind you. I was terrified. Can you imagine sitting there and, like, whoever is in the car with you is like, I just saw someone behind you.
Get out of the car.
I was terrified. I was terrified. My boyfriend doesn't believe in ghosts, so he started joking about it. Thankfully, that calmed my nerves. The months passed, and I kept seeing him. After some time, I decided to ask my dad. My dad, when I asked him if there was a ghost in the back of the car, he replied, "Oh, the one sitting in the back? Yeah." And then when I freaked out, he added, "Oh, and you haven't even seen the kid yet."
God, no. No.
Stop it. My dad gave me a haunted car, and he didn't even tell me. He told me that these ghosts were nice. He had seen them a lot of times and was sure that the man in black was my grandpa, who died some years ago and messed around in the garage often as a ghost. Oh, so he's just trying to get out and take a
Yeah, he wants to go motoring.
I hope he's dressed smartly. He's just opening doors on the middle of the highway. One day, the only time this has happened, I was parking the car when I saw behind me a little kid on the seat. It wasn't scary. I already knew he was there. So now I just live with them. Sorry for my storytelling and probable grammar errors. I'm from Spain. Absolutely not. This was done in better English than I could do. So thank you so much, Natalia V.
Very cool. I like that. All right.
I like when you get to the point where you're just like, they're there.
They're there. It is what it is. It's fine. This is fine. This was sent in by Olivia G. I was 22 years old in the winter of 2017 when I went through a breakup. And this also meant I had to move house from our then shared apartment. An acquaintance of mine posted on Facebook that a room in her house, which she shared with a few other roommates, was about to become available. So we started talking and I went to check out the place, and needless to say, I moved in not long after. The house was a large colonial-style villa, which was built in 1914
Ooh.
And would have been a classy family home once upon a time. It was situated on the top of a long set of wooden stairs, almost as if it leered over you when you standed at the bottom. The house was still very original in the sense as it had not had a lot of work done. It made a lot of noise. The roof was old, and during windy nights you could hear the steel panels moving, the floorboards bent and squeaked under your feet, and the doors were old and heavy, that old-fashioned dense wood that really needed to be pushed when opened. Down. Sure.
I love it. I love this place. Jesus. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Sure. I'm for it. All of which, have you ever tried to nail anything into that hard fucking, those doors and trim? Have you ever lived in a really, really fucking old house and tried to nail hammer? It literally will break your hammer. It is ridiculous. I lived in this, it was the farmhouse, the haunted one that was over 100 years old. And I remember I had a fucking drill, an electric drill, a fucking machine, and it was supposed to screw a screw in to this wood, and it snapped the screw. And I just remember being like, what is this stuff? What is this, just wood? What is the wood that we use? Is it just not as good? It just blew me away.
Future proof. No, houses these days are built with plywood and tissue paper.
Yes. No, I love a good heavy old house. All of the 5 bedrooms were off one long hallway, which you stepped into the right through the front door. Every room had a pendant-style light fixture that hung from the ceiling, commonly found in houses of the time. Despite the beautiful craftsmanship of the 1900s era, the house felt very lived in, as if a lot of residual energy remained. It was safe to say the house had an energy all of its own. I quickly became close with one of the other roommates, Marie, and we spent a lot of our evenings hanging out watching TV or cooking dinner together. One winter night, while watching a movie on the couch in my room with the house completely closed up to avoid any draft, we both glanced up at the exact same moment as we noticed the light fixture which hung from the ceiling swinging back and forth. When I say swinging, I do not mean a slight sway as if a breeze had caught it. I mean as if the light was swinging, as if someone had just pulled it upwards to the ceiling and then released it. Gross. Both in complete awe of what we were seeing, we stared silently for what felt like a long time and then looked at each other in shock, at it aggressively swinging with no sign of slowing down, and not knowing what else to do, I stood up and reached to grab the light shade to stop it in its tracks. You, my friend, have balls that I don't have.
I would have clambered out of the window.
There would have been a me-shaped hole in that hard fucking wood. Wouldn't have mattered. I would have got through it and gotten out of there. We were both pretty freaked out by what had happened, but brushed it off and focused less on it as the days went by. Around a month or so later, I started noticing weird things happening. My very heavy bedroom door would rattle against the frame for 10 seconds and then just stop as if someone was pushing and pulling slightly from the outside. Gross. I would hear footsteps walking down the hallway when I knew I was home alone. It became apparent to me that whatever was in the house was not going away, and it began to feel like a very ominous and overbearing presence all of the time. I hate that.
I've been living. To say hello is one thing.
That's one thing.
Trying to get in your room is a totally another.
Yeah, then it starts getting possessive, and then it's like, nah. I had been living in the house for at least 3 to 4 months now, and I was standing in our laundry room and loading clothes into the washing machine with my back turned to the long hallway adjacent. And out of nowhere, I felt the urgent need to turn around to check as if someone was watching me. Just as I turned around, I saw what I can only describe as a dark gray, smoky-colored figure in the shape of a person, but without any distinguishable features, that was at least 7 feet tall. Within 2 to 3 seconds of laying eyes on it, it very quickly moved, as if gliding down the hallway and around the corner, crossing my doorway directly into my bedroom. No. I'd move out. Start over. Just get in your car with
sleep on the couch.
25 cents you have in your pocket and start your life over.
Yes. Get a new name.
Yeah. Change your identity.
Dye
the
your
whole
hair.
thing.
You're gone.
Get bangs. Something.
This sounds like a good movie.
Honestly, it's kind of like it's kind of like Sleeping with the Enemy, but ghosts instead of creepy, overly fit husband.
Overly fit.
So, at this point, I was so afraid of the place I didn't even want to be home alone. Fair. I was looking for a new house by this point, but still had to keep living there in the meantime, despite being scared as shit of whatever that thing was. The final major thing that happened, which basically sealed the deal for me to get the hell out of there, I started work later than most of my roommates, so one morning while home by myself, I was walking down the hallway in a towel, straight from the shower, headed for my bedroom. I looked down the hallway to the front door, which was wooden with a large frosted glass frame on the upper side, which you could not see through completely, but enough to see if someone was on the other side of the door. And standing at the door was the silhouette of a very tall, dark figure that looked to be over 6.5 feet. So I ran to my bedroom, threw on a long t-shirt, and within 10 seconds had returned to see the figure gone. I went into Marie's room, which had a window that looked onto the front steps to see no one there, bearing in mind the house had about 15 steps leading up to it and a long driveway that followed, making it nearly impossible for someone to walk away that quickly. I was feeling pretty low during the first few months of living there as I adjusted to my new situation, and quite a few hours were spent in my room alone as I navigated my new surroundings with new people. I genuinely believe that whatever entity that resided in that house was feeding off my emotions, and as someone who has always been quite attuned to the paranormal and energies around me, it seemed to only focus on messing with me, possibly invited in due to the negative energy I had been carrying around. I moved out of that house by summer of the same year, and I still sometimes walk or drive past it as I live in a neighboring area, and it still feels like whatever was in there is looking down at me, staring back.
Ew.
It was a creep.
I don't
He was
like
a peeper.
That. He's a peeper.
He's a peeper. Trying to get into her room at night and looking at her in a towel.
Scuttering away when he gets caught.
And why is he so fucking tall?
I've got a story from Aaron G. In 2003, my mother passed away after a lengthy battle with depression. She was tired of the medications, and she was one of those people who would get every single side effect that was listed. I don't know about now, but back then it was normal for your body to get used to medications after a few months, so she'd just have to go into a new one and see if it worked. It was a roller coaster. I understand now, as a mature adult, what her life must have been like. I've come to peace with it, though of course I still miss my mama. Yeah, of course. In life, before the depression took her, my mother was a bulldog. She was fiercely protective of her home and family. She was not a feminine woman. She was a little rough around the edges and very blunt. She didn't take no shit, but she had a heart of gold and loved us all very deeply. I like it, yeah. For anyone who watches Star Trek Discovery, I'm certain Tig Notaro, excuse me, I'm not familiar, channeled my mother for her Jet Reno character. People are going to slay me if I do that wrong. However, years later, in 2016, I had my son. I was blessed with a happy, healthy, easygoing baby. Finn is always happy, though he's 3 now and has mastered the tantrum. When he was about 10 months old, he was still sleeping in our room in his crib. He always went to bed easy. A lullaby, a few kisses, a baby bum spankies, and he'd grin off to sleep. This particular night, all was usual. However, about 2 hours after he went to bed, he woke screeching. And I mean screeching, like something was murdering him. My husband and I were in the other room, and we both took off in a dead run for our bedroom and his crib. When we got there, he was red-faced, screaming and shaking. The poor guy was beside himself. He was inconsolable. We did the walk and bounce, and nothing was helping. Our stray kitten that adopted us, well, she adopted my son, was right there too. She was not happy and would hiss and growl at something we couldn't see.
Ew.
Ugh. After about 5 minutes, my son looked up and smiled. He reached for something and made a cooing sound. He visibly relaxed, and so did the kitten. You know, when you see something move out of the corner of your eye and your eye kind of flicks to see what was there, well, that's what happened next. As soon as his little eye caught the sight of whatever had moved, he screeched again. This time, though, he and the kitten watched whatever... Ooh, I hate that they were both watching it together. He and the kitten watched whatever they had just seen. They looked back at what had, I guess, calmed them down and made it happy, but then looked again to wherever the negative thing was. This happened 3 more times throughout the house that night. Once in a living room, then the kitchen, then the dining room. Each time seeing a happy thing, but then a bad thing would show up, and the happy thing would, like, kind of intersect it. That's good. Something's on the lookout.
Mm-hmm.
On the last one, our son actually flinched while watching whatever when the two interacted. I think kind of an adult equivalent of, damn! Okay, so the baby was like, shit. The next morning, I strapped him into my baby carrier, and we saged and salt the house and made an offering to our ancestors together. He hasn't had this scary experience again. I know he sees things that we can't see. On the baby monitor, we often see him reach up to someone with his grabby hands in the pick-me-up action that toddlers use to communicate. I've seen orbs in his room too, but no negativity, no fear. I'm sure it's my mother coming in to check in on him sometimes. She wouldn't allow such a minor thing as death to keep her from protecting those she loves. I love that.
Well, she was probably fucking
What a
all up on
badass.
that negative bastard, man. If she is like as tough, like that bulldogish fuck you personality, I bet whatever that shadow thing was, she came in with just like a fucking who knows what, just smacking it. Just get the fuck out. Get the fuck out.
She comes in like with a rolling pin from an old
Yeah.
Nope. Get out.
This next one was sent in by Rage Cage, KG. Let's see. When I was 10 years old.
What if it was actually
Kyle Gass just dropping us a line.
Yeah.
He's a secret listener to Wabah.
Just whoop-ah. Friend of the show, Kyle Gass.
Friend of the show. When I was 10 years old, I was born in 1989, my family and I moved from one small town in northeast Arkansas to another smaller town in northeast Arkansas. My first 10 years of childhood in our old farmhouse were normal. Poor, but normal. I'm the youngest of 7 children, a yours, mine, and ours situation. My mother has Christian beliefs, but never went to church, and my dad was agnostic. Nothing unusual ever happened until we moved into our new home. Our new home...
Nothing ever happens in Blaine.
Oh. Whoa. What is it? No supersonic airplanes or... It's such a lame song. Boring.
That's what it made me think of.
Our new home wasn't anything to brag about. It was actually an old single-wide trailer with a built-on living room and a bedroom with a bathroom. When we first moved in, I was given the smallest room in the trailer. Later on, when my sister married and moved out, I was given her room in the expansion. I say this because in our 4 years of stay there, I experienced things in all areas of the house. I will try to keep it in order the best I can, but to be honest, it all runs together, so I'll just go for it. One of my first memories was waking up in the middle of the night, early morning, to a teenage-sized boy standing in the small bedroom doorway. He was in a t-shirt, jeans, and ball cap, but I cannot recall his face. He had one arm propped up on the door jamb and was just watching me. My first thought was, what is my brother doing? As I opened my mouth to say my brother's name... Weird. This made my eyes water. It's not actually, like, scary, but it's just wrong. As I opened my mouth to say my brother's name, this person started to turn in what looked like the fuzzy television screen, like the white noise screen, and eventually disappeared. I jumped out of bed and ran to my parents' room. My mom settled me, and I went to bed. I didn't think much of it. My dad assured me that the brain was to blame. I had just come out of a dream. I agreed, and slowly over time, little things started to happen. I would feel like someone was always following me, behind me, or watching me. I always felt something extra was in the house that I couldn't see. I would watch TV in the living room at night, and the way the trailer was made and the TV and couch was set up, if you were watching TV, the kitchen was behind you. I remember one night something small was thrown over my head with force from the kitchen, and it hit the wall behind the entertainment center. I never checked to see what it was. I took off to Mama's room. Somewhere along the way, I started having nocturnal panic attacks. I would wake up already in a panic. Oh, that's awful. No bad dream to set it off. I would run around the house confused, feeling like everything bad was happening at once. I had no control. Time went on and my sister got married and moved out. This meant I got a new, bigger room. I was excited until shit went down. Flashes in the bathroom that was connected to the bedroom would keep me from falling asleep and banging on the shower walls. One night I was wide awake. I had just laid down and a tall man walked in my room. He had on a long sleeve button-up dress shirt.
Shut your mouth.
I can't. I'm sorry. I hate this a lot, and I haven't had something affect me like this in a while.
I'm very scared about what you're about to say.
One night I was wide awake. I had just laid down and a tall man walked in my room. He had on a long sleeve button-up dress shirt and he walked up to the foot of my bed, put his hands on my footboard, bent over my bed as far as he could and stared at me.
No. What?
I
That's mean.
I hate that. That is so aggressive.
Why is it so much worse and so much more aggressive to do that over the end of the bed versus just walking right up to your face and doing it? It's so much worse.
Because it is. It's like grabbing and leaning. I don't like that. I wanted to get away, but I didn't want to run past him. Fair. I watched him until he eventually disappeared the same way the boy had in the other room. Just like the boy, I cannot recall a face, but I looked at it. This still gives me chills. As soon as he went away, I sprinted into my mom's room. My mom, being a Christian, would never dismiss what I experienced, as she told me she believed in angels and demons. If I was ever afraid, to pray. My dad always assured me adrenaline can make your body experience some weird shit. Another time, after school, still daytime, I was home alone. My brother worked at the local grocery store, and my parents hadn't made it home from work. I was watching TV. Beside the entertainment center was one of those butane heaters that hangs on the wall. While watching TV, I was startled by the sound of the paneling wall bowing out, and I watched the heater swing up from the bottom, still attached to the top like a hinge, hit the upper wall, swing back down, and then I watched the wall go back to the flat normal surface.
Ew,
that's
it's
awful.
like somebody just flipped it.
Well, but the wall itself, it's like something pushed it through the wall and the wall bent with it. Like the wall itself, woo,
I hate
and
it.
then like snapped back. I hate that. I froze and told myself that my brother snuck home and was in my old small bedroom closet, which was behind the wall, and he was to explain for what I had just watched. My brother never pranked me, though no human was capable of making a wall do that, and the heater is hooked up to the pipes at the bottom.
No.
What I saw was impossible. My maybe 12-year-old self at this time decided to get a knife from the kitchen and check out the closet. Again, balls I do not have. Nothing was there. My brother was still at work, and I stayed outside until my mom got home. Smart. My mom told me to burn anything I may have brought into the house that could have something attached to it, and my dad told me my imagination was wild. There's definitely two types of belief going on here. I was
You're getting
very
two different sides of the
skeptical.
story.
Yeah. I was still having nocturnal panic attacks. I still tried to sleep in my room, even though at this point I believed something was targeting me. No one else in the house ever seemed to have anything happen. Since the time that the man walked into my room and put his hands on my footboard, I had rearranged my room. My bed was now up against the wall with a window. I woke up one night to my dog growling out of the window. I tried to comfort her until I realized I was looking out of my bedroom window. My blinds were down when I went to sleep, and now they were pulled halfway up. My dog and I slept in the living room for the rest of the night. The next day, my mom pulled my blinds down and said maybe I had pulled them up and forgot and fell asleep. I said no, I did not. Every day after that, one random blind would be flipped open. Ew. Gross. That's a gross detail. Only one of the little slats.
That's like a message.
Yeah, someone's watching. I continued to have nocturnal panic attacks. Eventually, my parents found a house closer to work and we moved. By then, I was 14. Since I turned 14 and moved out of the house, I've never had another panic attack. I've never seen any more ghosts, and I've never had anything happen that I couldn't explain. As an adult now, I myself am agnostic, much like my father, and I find myself trying to find the science and psychology behind it all. Some days I convince myself it was all in my brain. It wasn't. And other days, I know what I experienced, and I tried to tie that to the house. In those 4 years, it never happened at a friend's house, a cousin's house, a sister's house. It's strange. My mom always told me there are angels and demons, but I always felt like it was something in between. Like I had walked into something, and they realized I could see it all, and so they focused on me. I actually called my mom the other day to ask her how much she remembered, and she told me my older siblings had found a Ouija board on the top shower stall. So that's something new to consider. I still and always will be skeptical about it all. If it's my active imagination, I'm glad it stopped. But as skeptical as I may be, my husband knows to keep the window blinds in perfect order, and I will never look too long at my doorway while in bed at night and fear that something will walk through.
That's an interesting angle, though. It's like maybe they realize, maybe it's neither good or bad, it's just sort of there. And they realize, hey, this chick can see us. And when he came over and like leaned over her bed and stared at her, he's just getting a better look. And he doesn't realize how awful he's going off.
Yeah, maybe like maybe or like through their eyes, like in kind of the spirit world trying to blend into ours, maybe we're super out of focus. Or we're just like kind of a light source and he's just trying to lean as hard as he can. But in reality, he's a creep.
What is that? I want to believe that, but I don't know. I don't know how far I can throw that. I got a story for you today from Guinea M.
Cute.
I have a few, actually. A smattering,
Guinea?
a handful
Guinea?
of sort of small stories. Is Ginny Guinea or is it Ginny?
I read it as Guinea, and I read all of Harry Potter as Guinea, but apparently it's pronounced Ginny in like the movies.
I wasn't okay with Hermione. That is not how I had been saying it.
How did you say it?
I don't remember how I was saying it, but that was not it. I don't remember. It was like Hermone or something a lot worse.
Pheromones.
That's what it was. Hair salon. From Guinea M. The first one says, my first paranormal experience happened when I was a little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old. I slept in my own room, in my own bed, with nothing but a small nightlight that hung on the wall. Every night, when I was a kid, I slept with, like, all my lights on. Every night, I would have the same reoccurring nightmare. Mm-hmm. Right before I fell asleep, I would see in my mind's eye a tall, shadowy figure looming over my bed, bent down so its face was pressed against my face.
Sleep face down.
I think these guys are related. It had no features, but the outline of its shape seemed to blur and fuzz, and its body was dark and kind of shadow-like. It seemed, or the kind of shadow that seems blacker than the darkness around it. The shadow would hover inches away from me and suck the breath. It's the blacker than black. The shadow would hover inches away from me and suck the breath out of my lungs until I would wake up disoriented and dizzy and utterly terrified.
So it's a
Dementor. You know what that is? That's a Dementor. I was trying to say like Michael Scott when he was being prison Mike, but that didn't come out that good. The room would spin and shift in the dark as if I had actually had my breath knocked out of me. I had no other word for these entities except for vampires. And when I told my mom that I was afraid of vampires, she sat and watched cheesy old vampire movies with me in an attempt to ease my fears. But I couldn't communicate to her that those cartoonish creatures were not what was plaguing me. I started sleeping with my blankets up over my head, facing the wall, leaving only a tiny space open for air. This seemed to work. I would fall asleep without the shadow beings bothering me. But every morning I would wake up covered in sweat from spending the night, even hot summer nights, huddled under a pile of blankets with no ventilation. This went on for a few years. One summer morning, I was alone in the house when the sun rose, as both my mother and stepfather had left very early for work. I remember feeling so hot and sweaty and suffocated under my blanket pile, but I was too petrified to uncover myself.
Oh, I feel that.
I get that. Even in the dim, early morning light. I was just barely awake, moments away from opening my eyes, when I heard a voice. It was a man's voice. Mm-hmm. Very firm and clear and close.
Gross.
I hate this.
He's a close talker.
I heard the voice right next to my ear, as if the man were kneeling on the bed, bent over.
Gross.
All he said was my name, just one time, but in an amazingly clear and coaxing voice that encouraged me to peel back the blankets and peek out.
Mm-mm.
My room was filled with golden sunlight, and all of a sudden I somehow knew that the voice I heard was the voice of my biological father.
Oh.
I don't know how I knew, because he passed away when I was 2 years old, and I couldn't remember anything about him other than the fact that he existed and his relationship with my mom led to my birth. But in that moment, I somehow knew undeniably that it was him. After that morning, I was never visited by the shadow vampires again, and could sleep completely uncovered. It has only occurred to me recently in my adult years that those vampire nightmares could have very well been shadow people, shadow beings, but I've never had another experience with them. I think when you have those experiences and you immediately sort of get an idea in your head of who you're talking to, who you're dealing with, you're usually right, I think.
Yes.
Short story number 2. Then, my grandfather passed away when I was 11. So I was so young that I didn't quite understand death. And I felt a little detached during the entire situation. So I don't remember most of that trip except for one specific moment. We stayed at my grandmother's house for a few weeks afterwards to comfort her. And one night I woke up around 2 o'clock in the morning. I was super thirsty and went downstairs to get a drink. Still half asleep, stumbling my way through the dark, I walked into the kitchen, which was only lit by the LED clocks on various appliances. I saw my grandfather sitting at the table. I remember seeing him as if he were lit up by daylight, with a newspaper spread out on the kitchen table in front of him and a cup of coffee in his favorite glass mug sitting next to him. He was reading and smirking at whatever was in the paper, and he didn't look up at me. I opened the fridge, not realizing the situation, and my sleepy 11-year-old brain failed to remember that he had passed. I looked into the fridge, found a bottle of water, casually asked over my shoulder if he would make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Upon hearing no response, I went to look at him and repeated my question. I turned around to see that the kitchen was bathed in the nighttime shadow once again, and my grandfather was nowhere in sight. The newspaper and coffee mug had also disappeared, and the table was cleared. It was only then that I realized what I had just seen, and I ran back upstairs in shock. I remember this moment fondly now, as if he needed one more cup of coffee at home before he was ready to move on. Logically, I know it could have been me dreaming, or my young brain may have been projecting it as a way to process his death, but in my heart, I think he was really there.
I think he was there too.
More recently, when I was 20, I moved into my first rental house with my boyfriend and our best friend from high school. It was an older property, but we were the first rental tenants. The house was quite small, but cute and comfortable and perfect for 3 reasonably behaved college kids. The strangest part of the entire property was that the pull-down stairs that led to the attic were closed off. I think Zach Bagans would say that's a portal.
And it was a portal for sure.
This is where the portal to hell is. The rental company had screwed the opening shut and had even removed the pull string. They told us when we asked that the attic was unfinished, and so they sealed it off to keep the house better insulated. We didn't question it until a few months when we were visiting relatives of my boyfriend who lived 4 streets down from us. They jokingly asked how we liked living in a haunted house. Confused, we asked them what that meant, prompting them to reveal to us that the previous owner of the house had, shot and killed himself in the attic. This mildly spooked us. Mildly.
I feel like the landlord could have at least disclosed that information.
I feel like that's pertinent to sell, you know. This mildly spooked us. But since we hadn't been experiencing any paranormal activity up until that point, we blew it off as mild deception on our rental company's part. Mild. Again, not what I would consider to be like a white lie, you know. Until the following weekend, when the boys decided it would be a fantastic idea to unseal the attic stairs and take a look.
What?
The
fucking
attic
boys.
The attic was actually a completely finished room, complete with ceiling lights and white painted walls. Not only that, but pushed into the corner were a few boxes of the previous owner's belongings. A crate full of china with 60s-looking patterns, a box full of old vinyl records, an old 80s boom box, were taken down from the attic. A token for each of us. I hope you took that boom box.
What?
That's the best. That's clearly the old vinyls.
No, I just wouldn't want to take anything out from the attic. I'd be scared I'd make it mad.
Oh. It was then that things started to get strange. I often find myself alone in the house during the evening and on weekends. I started to feel spooked in these times, like someone was there watching me. I also couldn't stand to be in my bedroom with the closet door open, because when I turned away from it, in the corner of my eye, I would always see a wall of pitch blackness instead of seeing my boyfriend and I's clothing. Things of ours would go missing, particularly clothes and shoes. I would have to keep my bedroom door shut at all times because the corner of the hallway opposite my door always looked like a giant shadow that was darker than it should have been, even at night. It was just like standing there. I never got any malicious feeling from the shadow, but it still unnerved me. The boys were complete skeptics. The boys were complete skeptics, and either they didn't notice these things happening or they ignored them. But it must have eventually gotten to them too, because they decided not long after to return the belongings to the attic and reseal it. But that didn't help, and I continued to feel more and more uncomfortable. One day when I was alone, I heard a loud bang on the wall beside my closet, as if somebody had punched it. In a clumsy but well-meaning effort, I bought some sage-scented incense at Walmart and attempted to bless the house. I walked around, wafting the incense smoke into each room before settling in the center of the house and just talking. I thanked the spirit for letting us live in his house and apologized for going through his things. I said that I was very sorry for any sadness or trauma that may have led to his end. Finally, after being met with complete silence and feeling very silly, I said that if he could coexist with us and be nice, that he was more than welcome to stay. But if he was going to be an ass, he had to leave. I sat in silence for a long time, just feeling the energy of the room. Not a hard ask. Feeling the energy of the room, unsure of myself. After that, I left the house and went to work. When I came back, a sense of peace seemed to hang in the air. From that moment on, the shadows in the hall and the closet seemed normal and suddenly not threatening. And I didn't feel like I was being watched. Eventually, we found the items of clothing that went missing right where they were supposed to be when we lost them. For the rest of our lease at that house, I could feel his presence, but much more dimly and in a casual and comforting way. Often when I was alone in the house doing chores, he just needed to have that little talk. He needed to sit down, clear the air, have a little come to Jesus moment, you know? Often when I was alone in the house doing chores, I would talk to myself as if striking up a conversation with him. I never heard or sensed any sort of response from him, but I knew he was listening. When it was time for us to leave, and we had emptied the house of our belongings, I sat again in the center of the room to say goodbye. I haven't been able to make contact with the new tenants in that house, and I wonder if he is still there or if he has moved on after we left. But having a gentle spirit as a roommate is something I will never forget.
Interesting.
This story is not my own, but I was somewhat involved in the events that led up to it, and this centered on an old friend. When we were younger, 18 or 19, just starting college, we liked to visit graveyards. I feel that. On one such visit, we were very quietly trying to sense anything we could about the graves. As we walked slowly towards the back of the graveyard, something in the corner kept drawing our attention. It was a stone mausoleum bordered on both sides by drooping willow trees. Oh. But something wasn't right about it. The shadows were too dark, and the leaves on the trees seemed to be entirely the wrong color. Then, as we drew closer, a strange foggy mist started to seep up from the ground. Ooh, this just sounds like Dracula. Mm-hmm. Even though it was a completely clear night, and a muddy, moldy smell started to drift through the air. It wasn't long after that when we decided to leave, but there was a strange vibe in the car the entire way back to our dorm. And when we discussed it later, we both agreed that something was not right with that resting place. Then things started to get strange for my friend. As she tells it, she was driving home from work one afternoon in very sparse traffic, and passed the exit for the part of town that housed the particular graveyard that we had visited. In fact, the graveyard was so large that part of it stretched somewhat close to the highway, separated by a thick line of trees. It was just past this particular stretch of highway where my friend turned to look out of her driver's window and saw a woman in the lane next to her. All of a sudden, the woman looked at her and made eye contact before opening her mouth and letting out a blood-curdling scream.
No.
I don't like that. Why would that happen? Then my friend saw the sedan come to a complete stop and crumble as if it had rammed into something. Ugh. My friend quickly swerved into the breakdown lane and slammed on the brakes. But when she threw her car in park and jumped out to see what had happened and to check and see if the woman was okay, she turned around and saw that the highway was completely empty. No sign of the crumpled old car or the woman. That experience shocked her so deeply that she couldn't get back into the car and drive. She had to call her boyfriend to come pick her up. In the weeks following, she suffered one misfortune after another. She had endless fights with her parents. Her boyfriend left her. Her car broke down. Anything that could have went wrong did go wrong. And she couldn't help connecting these events with the phantom crash that she witnessed. At the time, I assumed it to be a coincidence until she discovered something pretty creepy after talking about it with an older woman at her work. Apparently, and somewhat predictably in hindsight, the mausoleum that gave us the creeps belonged to a woman who died in the early 90s in a car crash. She was hit head-on by her estranged, abusive husband. After learning this, my friend experienced a little bit of peace and never brought up the phantom crash again. But I was never convinced that some sort of negative energy from the experience stopped plaguing her. You're just driving, you look over, and the person looks you dead in the eyes and just screams.
I don't like that at all. This next story was sent in by Amber J. Growing up, I always hated being alone at home. I constantly felt like something was intensely watching me. It was worse at night because our house seemed to get unusually dark. Man, that is a theme for these stories this episode. There's always a theme. Have you noticed that?
There is, a line that we kind of follow. And this one, it's things like being too shadowy.
Being too dark. Yeah, I don't love it.
I also don't love how we have a theme because it somehow just solidifies everything that it's all supposed to be coming together.
It feels intelligent.
We didn't do this on purpose, guys. We read these stories as they come in the order they come in, so...
Yep, this is just what we get. One night, as I was drifting off to sleep, I was startled awake by a loud crashing sound that came from my closet. The closet door, which I had left only a couple of inches open, was now wide open. There was nothing on the ground that had fallen. I shifted my eyes from the open closet to the left and saw a black, shadowy outline of a tall man. Got another one. I swear that's like 4 stories in a row of a tall shadow man. God. Oh, here we go.
If he leans over something, I'm going to vomit.
Standing next to the head of my bed about 3 feet away from me.
I quit. I quit everything.
Yeah, I don't like this. Completely startled, I jumped back a couple of inches and blinked my eyes. When I opened my eyes, the figure had moved to be face to face with me, just inches away.
I'm going to close my laptop and walk away from this situation.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm glad I warded my house this morning. This startled me again, and I jumped back about a foot, blinking again. When I opened my eyes the second time, the figure was gone. All of this happened over the course of seconds. I was so horribly petrified that I curled into a ball, cried a bit, and didn't sleep for another 3 hours. I would have done that too. Actually, I would have slept outside, probably like in my car at that point.
Legitimate.
After that, I never encountered the figure again, but was still terrified to sleep in that room. I didn't find relief until I moved into my sister's old room when she left for college a few years later. Other strange things happened in that room at night over the next few years. One such instance was when I felt a hand firmly pressing down on my hip as I laid in bed, but seeing nothing. Other times I would frequently be in a sort of half awake, half asleep state where I could see or where I can see and know where I am in my room, but I don't really have rational thought or control of what I'm doing or saying. In this state, I would do things like sit up in my bed to allow spirits that were walking to pass through behind me and lay back down and go to sleep. Another time I sat up, turned around towards a woman dressed in a dark Victorian-type clothing that was floating in the corner, put my finger to my lips and went, shh, and then laid back down and went to sleep.
She shushed Mrs. Cornelius Beekman.
Oh my God, that is beautiful. Well, she was being rude. She shouldn't have been floating in the corner in the middle of the night.
No.
None of these particular spirits ever felt malicious to me, so I wasn't afraid of them. I've always been a very vivid dreamer, so I chalked these up to half-sleep state experiences to just an active imagination. But given how real it felt, I've never been quite sure.
I hated that. Although I think that is very cute and funny to just kind of be aware of the spirits around you and also be angry that they're making too much noise. I've got a tale from Kelly M. Growing up, I lived in a 3-bedroom ranch-style house in Cincinnati with my parents and my younger brother. Got some of that ranch water.
Yeah.
My brother and I are very close in age, only 18 months apart, with me being the oldest. We were probably around 9, 10, or maybe even 11 years old when we were home alone for the afternoon. Don't panic. This was the early 2000s. A simpler time when you could just leave your children home alone because the neighbors were definitely keeping an eye on you. Anyway, it was one of those days when I was plotting my brother's unfortunate disappearance because he had been a full-blown dickhead to me all day. At one point, he marched into my room with an exaggerated arm sweep, knocked everything off of my dresser. What an asshole. Is this what it's like having a brother?
In part, yeah. Yeah, it is.
As I was cleaning up all the crap from the floor and rearranging it back on the top of my dresser, all of a sudden, the volume on my stereo turned all the way up. I instantly spun around and ran next door into my brother's room. I screamed at him to leave my shit alone and I was tired of it. He yelled back at me with a confused look, saying he didn't touch anything and to turn my music down because he couldn't hear his video game. Sure, whatever. 10 minutes or so go by, and the same thing happens. The volume turns all the way up again. I fly into my brother's bedroom, and again he screams back that he didn't touch any of my stuff. He shuts off his game and then goes, yeah, what are you talking about? He shuts off his game and goes down to the basement to play in peace. Well, a good chunk of time goes by, probably about an hour. I've cleaned up the mess from my dresser, and I was reading. I about pissed my pants and had a heart attack when my music volume once turned all the way up again. This time I was especially startled because my stereo wasn't even turned on. I had to shut it off when I started reading. I whipped my head around to the door, but didn't catch sight of anyone. To my complete and utter panic, the volume dial on the stereo was still spinning, even though the volume had maxed out. I hate that. I threw my book down, got up off the bed, and shut off the stereo. I quickly went into my brother's room, but he wasn't there. I shot across the hall and looked under my parents' bed, thinking he might have tried to prank me and then hide. Nobody. I hastily walk downstairs to the basement, where I find my brother balls deep in a video game and a bag of Doritos. What? Is all he says, and I stand there not saying a word. All I said was nothing, and sat down next to him. In my head, I was racking my brain about what happened, and I realized there was absolutely no way he could have snuck into my room, turned on the radio, turned the volume all the way up, ran to the basement, and then have time to still act like everything was fine. It was a small ranch house. He would have been caught or heard or at least winded for moving so fast. Not to mention, I saw the dial spinning with my own eyes, and I can't explain that. I stayed downstairs and out of my room until my parents came home. And right until now, I have never told anyone that story. I'm 28 now. Oh, that's a long time to know that some shit went down and just be like, I don't know if I imagined that.
Yeah, it is.
A few years later, I believe I was maybe 13 or 14 years old. It was early October and my best friend's birthday party. A large group of us were all geared up to go to one of the local haunted houses. A quick backstory on my friend. She is a huge pussy. Sorry if you're listening, girl, but you know it's true. She's the kind of person who you can't let hold the remote during a scary movie because she'll pause it if she thinks something is going to jump out. Ridiculous. Anyway, her parents had dropped us off at the Mount Healthy Haunted Hall. The Mount Healthy Haunted Hall.
Healthy
and when we got to the
hall. What?
Mount Healthy Haunted Hall. MT Healthy Haunted Hall.
Great.
Huh. That just reminds me, there's a billboard on your way down to Austin, and it's just this giant greasy burger on the billboard, and it says, health camp, exit so-and-so, and that's all it says. And I don't know, I don't understand. Anyway, her parents had dropped us off at the Mount Healthy Haunted Hall, and when we got to the front of our line, our group got split into two. I was with the birthday girl, who the whole time is starting to freak out, saying she doesn't want to go through. We're all telling her it's fine and she has nothing to be scared about. She keeps making a scene and even pulls out her phone and was like calling her dad.
Oh.
She said we had to go because her dad... her dad was there to get us. Okay, sure. Well, sure as shit, he was there to pick us up. Turns out her mom, who was pregnant at the time, had gone into labor. She scoops up all of us who hadn't gone through and takes us back to the house so that our parents could come pick us up. Don't worry about the kids who had gone into the haunted house. A parent was going to pick them up too. He drops us off at the house and then heads to the hospital. A small group of us were sitting in the basement wondering what to do since our spooky plans had changed. We were sitting there awkwardly when a friend of mine finally says, "You know, my mom has a Ouija board."
Of course.
She gets it out and we set it up. We all place our hand on the planchette. We giggle and argue about what to say, and finally, one of the guys blurts out, "Is anybody there?" After a few breathless moments, it moves. Just a tiny bit. But it moved. Most of us freak out and jump back and take our hands off of it. We also all begin to accuse one another for moving it. The girls placed the blame heavily on the guys for trying to scare us. As we were all accusing and denying, the lamp that was on the basement suddenly flies off the table and breaks, leaving us in complete darkness. All of us scream and jump out of our seats, but we don't know where to go from there. My friend starts crying, and my heart is racing faster than it ever has before. Something did that, and it was not anybody from our group. Just as we start to calm down, the side door at the top of the basement steps flies open.
No.
Screams of pure organic terror. A stern voice cuts through and screams and asks what the hell we're doing. Thank God, it was the neighbor that had been sent over by my friend's dad to check on us. She flips the light on... Oh my God, but how scary. She flips on the light switch at the top of the steps and looks down at us. I think she quickly realized that she didn't just catch a bunch of horny preteens making out. Her eyes dart from our scared shitless faces to the broken lamp and to the Ouija board. She corrals us all upstairs. Oh, she's like, oh shit. She corrals us all upstairs to wait for our parents to come and get us. She didn't ask any more questions or even bring up the lamp. We followed suit by not talking about it either. My friend and I are still great friends to this day. We live a few hours away, but the distance hasn't hurt us. Occasionally, we talk about the Ouija board and the lamp breaking. We joke about how crazy it was with nervous laughter. Still, to this day, nobody has ever fessed up to moving the planchette, and I don't believe anyone in the group did.
Oh, that was fun.
Can you imagine opening up, like swinging a door open and a bunch of kids just scream and they're all huddled around a Ouija board and there's a broken lamp?
It would just be me. If it was me being that parent, I would just be, get out, everybody out, like get out,
Nope.
get out of the basement. Enough. We're done. No more.
Go stand in the lawn. I don't care.
You fucked up bad enough. Now we got to deal with it. Y'all just get out.
Yeah, you're doing this in my house?
Yeah. This next story was sent in by Alyssa B. I want to tell y'all about an experience I had when I was a child, and at a few other points. I'd greatly appreciate thoughts about what this entity might be as well. I'm really hesitant on writing about this because if I look from an outside perspective, it seems like a giant case of the boy who cried wolf. So please bear with me, guys.
Oh.
Over the last 20 years, I've seen a Black Panther / dog-like being out of the corner of my eye, or in the distance of trees. I believe I have also seen it in the form of a raven, and I'll mention why towards the end. The first time it showed themselves to me, I was in about 6th grade. This is also the only time I can remember it speaking to me. I was playing down in the creek near my childhood home. This was a ranch water, surrounded by forest and has since been destroyed by a brush fire. It was about 100 feet from me laying down on the dirt road. At first I thought it was one of my neighbor's dogs, but Lucy didn't have nearly the amount of mass as this thing did, and its face was much more round and cat-like. I feel like I can remember its eyes, but at the same time I can't. Like when you can hear the music of a song but can't remember the name of it. I was fascinated by this thing, and little 12-year-old me must have looked at it for a good 5 minutes without wavering eye contact. I remember it lifting its head up. And in a whisper, but just as loud as normal talking volume, it said, "Save me."
Ew.
That's the worst thing anything could have ever said.
No. Why?
I don't like that.
It's either trying to trick you or it's something that needs help. Oh my god.
That made my jaw hurt.
Also, now all I can think of is that goofy version of Wake Me Up. Save me!
The goofy version? Yeah.
Yeah. Goofy, Goofy the dog, whatever he is.
I was terrified because that's when it clicked that this thing was, in fact, not Lucy. I ran as fast as I could into my house without looking back. Over the years, I've seen it in the background around me, but it's never outright spoken to me again. As I got older, I saw it less and less. It's now been about 2 years since the last sighting. When I saw it as a raven, I first thought it was a really large crow. It was at the bottom of my driveway sitting on an old fence post. This was at most 2 weeks before my house had burned down. I was on my way to school and didn't pay it much mind since I was running late. But looking back on it, I felt an indescribable sense of foreboding that was similar to the fear I felt when I ran from it several years before. I feel like it was trying to warn me about what was going to happen, or maybe it was just observing. I want to write this off just as a bird minding its own business, but it was too large to be a crow, almost 3 times as big. Ravens are not native to the central coast of California, and I saw it over the span of 3 days in the same spot. I want to know what this entity is. I want to contact it and know what it wants, but I'm unsure of how to do so. I feel that now, in my 20s and confident in my craft, I have enough courage to finally deal with this. I'm just afraid that since it's been so long since I've seen it, that I have lost my ability to.
I'm not over the save me thing.
Yeah, I know. That hit me hard.
Not over it.
It's in a foreboding way. Like, it's not good. Like, something about that just really did not sit right with me. It's just like, I have chills just talking about it still. That was wrong. Mm-mm.
Something, yeah. It didn't seem genuine. I guess. That's the word. I mean, I wasn't there, but that's the feeling I get. Yeah.
It didn't slap genuine.
Pop off. It didn't pop off over on our Facebook, you guys, and let's have a discussion about what we think this raven creature, dog creature is.
I got a story for you from Cheyenne. Sorry, my voice got stuck in that. I didn't mean to keep going.
Like Kermit
I have a story from Cheyenne.
I got a story from Cheyenne.
I was going to try to be goofy. I have a story from Cheyenne. So the first part happened in Fort Collins, Colorado. I was visiting this calm and cozy town for a high school championship competition. On the last day of competition, my mom and dad decided to surprise me with a ghost tour of the town. We had always loved investigating the paranormal together. Oh, that's fun. The tour took us through the historic district and then down to the town tunnels. Don't like that. These tunnels are long and winding. They cover most of Old Town, and they connect many of the businesses. Throughout the town's history, they were used as a delivery system for shops, speakeasy entrances, a Cold War bunker, a morgue, and even a jail during the 1880s. This was apparently to keep disease from spreading. There is even an 18-inch thick solitary confinement cell dug into the rock. That's interesting. Everything was quite calm until we entered the large room that was used as the morgue and the jail. As with any place so steeped in death, I entered the room and immediately felt sick. I have slight claustrophobia, but had been walking through the narrow passages and smaller rooms without incident. I was so bothered that I asked my mom if we could leave, as I was going to throw up. She led me to the back of the room, and through some breathing exercises, I started to calm down. I rejoined the group as the guide was taking out an EMF detector. He and a couple other people in the group walked around for a bit with it and recorded bass readings. The device stayed relatively quiet. Then it was passed to me. The lights jumped to halfway up the meter and stayed there. The guide laughed and said something about me having an electric personality. I handed it to my father and it stopped. He handed it back to me and it lit up again. Then everyone in the group got very curious. They started all wanting to ask questions or have me walk around with the device. I took a step toward the center of the group to hand the device back to the guide when the lights lit almost to full intensity. I stopped dead and got queasy again. I was holding the EMF in my outstretched hand and started to trace the source, as I had seen done on TV shows before and other investigations. I raised my hand high until it was almost a foot above me, and the light diminished. I went all the way down to the floor and then to the other side until the light went back to the middle. I realized quite soon I was tracing a figure. The guide looked shaken and approached me for the device. I handed it back. Please hand that back. I handed it back and the meter went all the way down to the base reading again. All right, let's head out, the guide said, and started corralling the group towards the rest for the tour. A few group members were already down the passageway, and my family and I and the guide were just about to exit the room when I saw something in the corner I will never forget. A dark mass, tall and wide, stepped out of the corner. It had no eyes, but I still knew it was staring right at me. I backed up fast into the tour guide and screamed. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground. I had passed out and the guide had caught me. The group had come rushing back at my scream and now stood about the room waiting to make sure I was okay. I drank some water and slowly got up. My eyes went straight to the corner, but nothing was there. That's the end of the first story. So something about shadowy figures and staring. Creeping. Just be creeping. The next story happened a few months ago while I was babysitting in southern Colorado. It was last minute and I had never been to the house before. It was a very large, remodeled 60s family home on a hill surrounded by open space full of blackberries and sumac. That's idyllic. The house had a ground floor, a small attic loft, and a basement. I had no occasion to be anywhere other than the main floor. The children, let's call them Liv and Joseph, are 4 and 6, respectively. They were extremely well-behaved children, and we got along very well. Around 7:30, I'm preparing them for bed, and I am preparing them for bed and leading Liv to Joseph's room where she wanted to sleep for the night. We passed the open staircase to the basement, and Liv looks down into it and then waves while smiling. I look down the stairs but see nothing, so I brush it off as childishness. After everyone is in bed, I go to the living room and read while I wait for their mom to return. Just a couple of minutes in, I hear skittering as if the kids are playing with their Legos. I get up and walk towards the room, and they both look asleep on the bunk bed. I head back to the living room. Not 5 minutes later, I hear a little girl humming. It sounds almost exactly like Liv, and I yell down the hall, "Go to bed!" And the humming stops for a bit. 10 minutes later, the skittering starts again and the humming. I said, "Go to bed." And I say this as I'm walking down the hallway. As I approach their door, I see that they're both already in bed. I go and I grab my book and a chair from the dining room and seat myself in the hall outside of their room so I can watch them closely. Almost a half an hour goes by and I'm relaxing into my reading. Then I start to hear the skittering again. I look up and the kids are in bed. I look around thinking maybe it's mice or something running around the room and in the hallway. As I get up to investigate further, I hear the humming, a voice exactly like Liv's, coming from the basement. I didn't even take the time to move the chair. I bolt to the living room and text their mom and ask how much longer she'll be. The humming gets louder and louder until it's near the entrance. Until it's near the entrance to the living room. I hate that, and then stops abruptly as their mother walks through the front door. I leap from my seat, grab my things, say a quick update on the kids, and practically run out of the house. I will never go into that house again.
That's some trickster shit.
First, I was like, oh, it's just another kid ghost that the kid can see, and they play around, and he's playing with toys. That's cute. Not that. And then not the aggressive getting closer to the door. I hate it.
This next one was sent in by Casey L. So my gut is telling me to share my story with you. So if this is weird as fuck, I am so sorry. I have been a practicing witch since I was about 14, even in my devout Catholic household. I'm very adamant about herbalism and divination, but I would definitely and have definitely delved into everything. Sadly, about 4 years ago, all of my witchy stuff was stolen. My books, my herbs, my ritual tools, basically everything but one book and my wand. I took this as a sign from the universe that I wasn't supposed to do this. To be honest, my Catholic upbringing crept in at that point, and it felt like God/Jesus was punishing me. This past year, I've been going through a transformation, a renaissance, if you will. I started taking better care of myself physically and mentally, so when 2020 rolled around, I felt it was time to take care of myself spiritually, and by pure fucking chance, I found your podcast. I cannot express how vital this has become to me in rebuilding my stage, how vital this has become for me in my rebuilding stage. It's so important to me that after about 2 to 3 episodes, parentheses, I've obviously been playing catch up, I will need to go and meditate and let all of that information set in for me before I go any further. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for this podcast. You two are literal goddesses.
Oh,
high praise.
We do not deserve.
No. Secondly, I want to tell you a spoopy tale. Yes, I said it incorrectly on purpose. I'm a born and bred West Virginian. My family, while devout Catholics, have always believed in spirits and ghosts, as is typical in at least my experience with Catholics. Yeah, they're more open to ghosts and spirits. We're all sensitive, especially my mother and I. One of the greatest attractions for spooky shit is the Western State Hospital, a.k.a. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Hey.
On the second floor, on the right side, is Ward C. This is where the women were held, both docile and violent. In 2013, there was a major storm that hit my part of West Virginia, and the power went out in Weston and the surrounding areas. So since I couldn't go to work, but the asylum was still open. I picked up my friend B, and we traveled the hour drive down for a tour. My friend C's husband, Jay, was our tour guide, and since clearly no one else was going to be touring that day, his manager let us roam longer than the allotted time for tours. Great.
Oh, luxurious.
Mm-hmm. So there's no power in the entire building. 3 witches, myself, my best friend, and our other friend, are on a tour of this building with a tour guide who isn't a sensitive. We crossed the threshold into Ward C, and I immediately felt a gut punch. It was so painful. I couldn't stand up straight. My vision was going pure white, and I could feel my temperature rising. It was so intense that all 3 of them could feel the pain I was in, even Jay, the non-sensitive. I almost vomited. It was so painful. It honestly felt like something was going to rip out my stomach or I was going to be stabbed in the belly. I cannot express how terrifying this pain was. I honestly thought I would get to the next floor and there'd be blood drawn somewhere on my body. It was that intense. Jay asked if we needed to stop, and all 3 of us screamed no, because there was no way to really finish the tour without going through that ward. So my friends basically carried me, and as soon as we crossed the threshold into the next ward, it was gone. To this day, I have no idea what it was, who it was, or why it chose me.
Oh.
I worked at the asylum for a little bit, and every time I would go into that ward on my tours, I could still feel that pain. It's never been as intense as the first time, but I still feel the stabbing pain in my stomach. I tried to do research on the ward to see if any distant family were patients there, but nothing has come up. The only connection I can make is that there was a woman who was epileptic and pregnant. She ended up having a seizure and miscarried. Please note that I cannot confirm this with medical records. This was told to me by a nurse that used to work there and is now a tour guide. This was the same situation that happened to me, but 2 years prior to touring the place. I don't think it's a past life or anything, but I think the times after that first one are sympathy pains. Like she's sorry it happened to me too. Like we're connected in this sad story, but we both still survived. Interesting.
There's something interesting. At first I was like, well, maybe somebody just, since it was the violent and non-violent patients, maybe somebody just stabbed you. Like,
just to be an asshole. But no, that sounds different.
Yeah. Our last story of Spookysode 10 comes to us from Eden B. Hey witches, my name is Eden, and here is some spook.
Oh.
The Missouri Motel. And this is lore. The Missouri Motel. To preface, I'd always been pretty in touch with my own spirituality. So I could always, before I even knew what was really going on, feel other people's emotions, energies, and spaces, etc. The story takes place pretty early on in my childhood. I believe I was around the ages of 8 to 9. Definitely old enough to remember what went down. I was on a road trip with my parents across the country. We stopped midway in Kansas City, Missouri, at a motel. Something was off from the moment we got into our room. We walked in, and the air was damp.
Ew.
Everything I touched felt tacky with humidity. Even the sheets felt damp.
Jim had been there.
The previous tenant. I looked at my mom, and we shared a look of confused concern. We were meeting my mom's sister, who had driven to meet us there, and had also got a room in the motel. So we didn't hang around in that room very long. We just dropped off our bags and went out to dinner. We returned later in the evening, me, my mom, dad, and my aunt, and I spoke about the odd feeling in the room. Everyone immediately chimed in, agreeing that something was just not right about it. So much so that we got up and went to have a coffee in my aunt's room. Eventually, we did have to go back to our own room to go to sleep because we have an early start the next day. I crawled into bed and tried to relax. My parents fell asleep before I did, and I just laid there trying to not let the thick, heavy humidity get stuck in my throat. I hate that. I started finally to drift off, and right as I was fading into a sleep, I heard a voice in my ear. I had the sensation of waking up with the start, that feeling like you're falling. It felt like there was a man with scruffy facial hair speaking directly into my ear. He was describing the murder of a woman in the room's bathtub in painful detail. He spoke seeming proud of himself with no remorse and clearly delighted at how scared I was. He clearly delighted at how scared I was and that he had found somebody in tune enough that could hear him. His voice was dripping with sick pride. My eyes snapped open. I know, I hate that. My eyes snapped open, hoping it would go away and I would see nothing. I was wrong. For a split second after I opened my eyes, I saw a man in work boots, blue jeans, and a red flannel top. Light was filtering in from the motel parking lot and onto him, creating the worst shadows on his face. After just a second, he was gone. I let out a scream that I could not even control and jumped into bed next to my mom. I told her what had happened, and she wrapped me up next to her. The next morning, we left at first light with an unspoken urgency and did not look back. That was the first and only time a spirit has ever manifested right before my eyes. I've had experiences since then, but nothing that visual. Listen to your guts, witches. They're rarely wrong. I think that's a great note to end this on, man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
if you learn anything from today's episode, it's don't let people lean over your bed.
Yeah, at least this guy who's by your bed looked like the bounty man versus a tall, skinny shadow man. Or the brawny man.
That was funny. The bounty man. I was thinking Dog the Bounty Hunter. And thus concludes our 10th Spookysode episode. The 101 episodes. No, 105. Shit.
We hope y'all enjoyed it. We did. This was a fun one.
Absolutely. I hope the fact that there was a pretty cohesive theme on accident spooked the hell out of you, because that's going to stick with me all day.
That and the save me. That's going to stick.
God damn it. I knew you were going to say that and I wish you didn't. That just gave me chill bumps.
Because I'm going to be spending the rest of my day outside, and I just feel like I'm going to look up and sitting in my sandpit driveway is going to be that thing, and it will say something else weird.
We hope that you hated it as much as we hated it. And of course, you know, here, when we say we hate something, we really, really love it.
Wow. All right. Well, I guess we'll catch everybody in Spookysode 11. Let's see what the world is going to be like in 10 weeks by the time Spookysode 11 rolls around.
That's true. We, at some point at the very beginning of all of this, very cockily stated that our 10th Spookysode was going to be at the Crescent Hotel, but now we have postponed that, obviously, because the world, and Texas at this time in particular, is, what'd you say, Mace, on fire?
It's just on fire, yeah.
Texas is on fire. Mm-hmm. We've decided that when we do come back and we are able to do things again, that we will move the Crescent visit as our celebratory return of our in-location Spookysode episodes, yada yada. But until then, keep sending in those spooky stories, guys. What's the email? What do they got to do if they got one that they want to be read?
If you want us to read your spooky story, you can send it to wbahpodcast@gmail.com, and you put the word spooky in the title so we can find it.
Goyles and boils, stay spooky.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
stay spooky, my friends.
Whoa.
It's me, Toby Magnum.
Oh no, you made this a thing. Shit. Okay, man, I gotta go decompress. I gotta take a cleansing bath because I feel like something is here in my body.
Tell it to leave.
I'm gonna do some clapping. I'm gonna go ring a bell for 30 minutes.
Great. Enjoy that. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Fine.